Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto reborn as the member of the Nara clan. Bleach part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. The atmosphere in the Nara household was somber, the kind of stillness that only came after great loss. The air carried the faint smell of herbal tea, freshly brewed by Yoshino Nara, as she prepared for an unexpected guest. It was late in the evening when Jiraiya, the Toad Sage, stepped through the sliding door of the Nara estate, his expression a mixture of sorrow and resolve. In his arms, bundled tightly in a blanket, was a sleeping infant with a patch of messy black hair. Shikaku Nara stood from his seat, his dark eyes narrowing as he took in the scene. "Jiraiya-sama, what brings you here so late?" Jiraiya shifted uncomfortably but held his ground. "It's about Naruto." His voice was heavy, burdened with responsibility. "Minato and Kushina, they were family to me. And with their passing, I can't raise him, not with the life I lead. He needs stability, and I trust you and Yoshino to give him that." Shikaku's sharp mind processed the weight of the request in seconds. The child's cries would be a constant reminder of the Nine Tails rampage. The village's hatred would be relentless. Yet, when Jiraiya handed Naruto over, Shikaku didn't hesitate. "He's family too," Shikaku said simply. "Minato was like a brother to me. We'll take him in." Yoshino entered from the adjacent room, wiping her hands on her apron. Her eyes softened as she saw the infant, her maternal instincts kicking in immediately. "Oh, you poor thing," she murmured, gently cradling Naruto in her arms. She rocked him, her voice soft but firm. "Don't worry, little one. You're home now. I'll love you as if you were my own." Jiraiya watched the tender moment, relief washing over him. He followed Shikaku to a quieter corner of the room, where the two men sat opposite each other. Shikaku, ever the tactician, cut straight to the point. "Will you be part of his life?" Shikaku's tone was neutral, but his gaze was piercing. Jiraiya hesitated, looking down at his calloused hands. "I can't. The work I do, it's not safe. Not for him. He deserves better than that." Shikaku leaned back, disappointment flickering in his eyes. "You know someday you will have to meet him. I hope he will be willing to forgive you." Jiraiya had no reply. After a few moments of silence, he stood and gave one last look at the sleeping baby in Yoshino's arms before disappearing into the night. 4 years later. The sun was high over the Nara estate, its golden light filtering through the canopy of trees that bordered the yard. Laughter echoed across the open space as 4 children, Naruto, Shikamaru, Ino, and Choji, played in the grass. Their giggles and shouts painted a picture of innocence, untouched by the burdens the adults carried. Naruto darted between his friends, holding a small wooden sword in one hand. "I'm the great hero, saving the village," he declared with a grin. "Yeah, right," Ino shot back, hands on her hips. She had fashioned a flower crown for herself and pretended it was a queen's crown. "You're not even strong enough to save yourself." Shikamaru, ever the strategist, lounged under a tree, watching the chaos unfold. "This is such a drag," he muttered, though he couldn't help the small smile creeping onto his face. Choji, munching on a bag of chips, held a stick like a makeshift spear. "I'll be your sidekick, Naruto. Together, we'll protect the queen." Naruto puffed out his chest. "That's the spirit, Choji. Shikamaru, quit being lazy and help us." Shikamaru groaned but stood up. "Fine. But if we lose, it's your fault." The children chased each other across the yard, the game evolving into a chaotic mix of roles and rules. Yoshino watched them from the doorway, a tray of drinks and snacks in her hands. "Shikaku," she called, her voice sharp as a whip. "Stop lounging around with your friends and help me carry this." Shikaku sighed, earning chuckles from Inoichi and Choza. "Coming, dear," he muttered, earning a triumphant smirk from Yoshino as she handed him the tray. The men sat on the porch, watching their children play. The mood, light and jovial at first, grew darker as their conversation turned to Naruto. Inoichi lowered his voice. "Do you think it was wise for the Hokage to reveal Naruto's Jinchuriki status to the village? Kushina's was kept a secret, after all." Shikaku sighed, setting his cup down. It wasn't Hiruzandano's decision. Minato wanted it this way. He hoped Naruto would be seen as a hero, not a monster. Choza frowned, his large hands gripping his drink. For a genius, Minato made some questionable choices. Shikaku didn't respond, his gaze fixed on Naruto, who was laughing as he tackled Shikamaru to the ground. "Time will tell," he murmured. As the time went by, Naruto began to dream. In the darkness of his slumber, he often found himself standing before a massive cage. Behind the bars, red eyes glared at him, filled with malice and rage. The Ninetales' voice was a deep rumble, echoing in the void. You think you're special, boy? You're nothing but a prison. But those weren't the only dreams. Sometimes he was in a field of tall grass, the wind carrying the scent of flowers. A woman stood before him, her purple pigtails swaying in wind. She wore an eye patch over her right eye. She regarded him with a mixture of annoyance and amusement. About time you showed up, she snapped. Do you know how boring it is waiting for you? Who are you? Naruto would ask, confused but intrigued. She smirked, leaning down to ruffle his hair. That's for me to know, and you to figure out. Now, are we playing or not? They would play games, hide and seek, tag, or sometimes odd games with strange rules he didn't fully understand. Though her words were sharp, her actions were gentle, and Naruto felt safe in her presence. The dreams became more vivid as Naruto grew older, and fragments of memories began to surface. He remembered battles, laughter, and pain. He remembered standing with the swords in hand, shadows swirling at his feet. And he remembered her, always at his side. Kaiten. Though he didn't yet understand the connection, Naruto knew one thing: the woman in his dreams was important. And as his bond with her grew, so too did his resolve to uncover the truth about himself, and the power he carried within. Thus began the tale of Naruto Nara, a boy raised in the shadow of loss, surrounded by love, and destined for greatness. The Nara estate was alive with laughter and playful shouts, the sounds of childhood joy filling the serene forest that surrounded their home. Naruto sprinted through the courtyard, his wooden sword brandished like a knight's blade, as Shikamaru trailed behind, feigning annoyance. Come on, Shika! You're supposed to be the evil overlord. Naruto grinned, darting behind a tree. Shikamaru sighed and lazily swung a stick. This is so troublesome. Why do I always have to be the bad guy? Because you're too smart to be the hero. Ino chimed in, her hands on her hips as she observed the unfolding chaos. Yeah, Shikamaru, Choji added, holding his hands up like he was casting a spell. You're the villain, and I'm the wizard who helps Naruto beat you. Naruto emerged from his hiding spot, pointing his wooden sword dramatically. Prepare yourself, evil overlord. Your reign of terror ends here. The game devolved into a mix of chasing, laughing, and occasional tumbles into the grass. Other Nara children joined in, creating a chaotic but joyful scene. They split into teams, alternating between hero and villain roles, their imaginations transforming the estate into a battlefield of epic proportions. Yoshino, watching from the porch, smiled as she folded a basket of laundry. At least they're burning off their energy, she muttered, shaking her head as Naruto tripped over a root, only to pop back up with an indignant shout. Shikaku, seated nearby, chuckled. They got endless stamina. Makes me tired just watching them. The evenings were quieter, filled with more thoughtful pursuits. Naruto and Shikamaru often joined Shikaku and other Nara clansmen in games of strategy. Shogi and go pieces were common sights in the estate's gathering room. Naruto sat across from Shikaku one evening, the shogi board between them. His face was scrunched in concentration as he tried to predict Shikaku's next move. Don't overthink it, Naruto, Shikaku said, moving a piece with casual precision. Sometimes the simplest moves have the biggest impact. Shikamaru, lounging nearby, chimed in. He's trying too hard. Just let the game flow, Naruto. Easy for you to say, Naruto grumbled, moving a piece. You've been playing this since you could walk. Asuma Sarutobi, who often visited for games and conversation, leaned against the doorframe, observing the match. The kid's got potential, though. He's already better than most grown-ups at Go. You've got a sharp one here, Shikaku. Naruto's grin widened at the compliment, but his attention remained on the board. He loved these games, not just for the challenge, but for the chance to bond with his brother, Shikaku, and even Asuma. Training in the shadows. By the time Naruto turned 6, his days were no longer just filled with games. Like all Nara children, he began training in the clan's unique shadow-based techniques. The training was rigorous, requiring patience and precision, but Naruto approached it with his usual enthusiasm. Shadow possession jutsu, Shikaku explained during a lesson, isn't about brute force. It's about control, understanding the flow of battle, and outthinking your opponent. Naruto mimicked Shikaku's hand signs, focusing his chakra into his shadow. Slowly, it stretched across the ground, reaching toward a training dummy. Steady, Shikaku instructed. Feel the connection. Don't force it, guide it. The shadow latched onto the dummy, and Naruto grinned triumphantly. Got it. Good, Shikaka said with a nod. Now do it 10 more times. Naruto groaned but complied. Despite his laid-back personality, he was determined to master the technique. On weekends, Naruto often walked through the village with Shikamaru, Ino, and Choji. The four were inseparable, their bond as strong as any team of shinobi. The streets were busy, filled with merchants and villagers going about their day. But as Naruto passed, the friendly chatter turned to whispers. That's him, the Ninetales brat. He's dangerous. Why does the Hokage let him run free? Naruto felt the weight of their glares, the unspoken accusations in their eyes. He didn't react, his expression calm and indifferent. The dreams he'd been having, the caged beast, the malevolent voice, had already given him the answers. He knew why they hated him. But he didn't let it bother him. If anything, it only strengthened his resolve to prove them wrong. You okay, Naruto? Ino asked, her voice soft. He smiled at her. I'm fine. Let's keep going. At the academy, Naruto's demeanor was as laid back as ever. He rarely raised his hand in class, often lounging in his seat with a bored expression. Despite this, his natural intelligence shone through in surprising ways. Irika Yumino, his instructor, often found himself torn between frustration and admiration. Naruto, are you even paying attention? Irika asked one day, noticing the boy staring out the window. Naruto turned back with a lazy grin. Of course, Irika-sensei. You were talking about chakra flow, right? Then explain it to the class. Naruto sighed dramatically but gave a concise and accurate explanation, earning him a mix of laughter and astonished looks from his classmates. Though he avoided competition, Naruto's relaxed attitude belied a sharp mind that excelled when it mattered most. Naruto's resemblance to Shunsui extended beyond their shared abilities. Like his Zanpakuto-wielding predecessor, Naruto had a mischievous streak that occasionally surfaced in his interactions with others. He wasn't openly perverted, but Yoshino was quick to notice the sly glances he sometimes gave the older kunoichi in the village. Naruto! Yoshino scolded one day, catching him looking a little too long at a passing market vendor. Eyes forward, young man! Naruto chuckled nervously, rubbing the back of his head. Sorry, Mom. You'd better be. I won't have you turning into some shameless lek. Yoshino. He kept his habits in check after that, though Shikamaru occasionally teased him about it. The foundations of Naruto's life were set, filled with love, friendship, and a growing understanding of his own power. But in the shadows of his dreams, a different journey awaited him, one that would shape him into the shinobi he was destined to become. Chapter 2: The Bloom of Shadows. Naruto stood in the Nara clan's garden, the soft rustle of leaves in the breeze calming his restless thoughts. The moon hung high, its pale light casting a serene glow over the estate. His mind wandered to his past life and the bonds he had cherished. Jushiro old man Yama, he thought wistfully, the ache of longing settling in his chest. He couldn't help but wonder if they, too, had been reincarnated into this strange world. If you're here, Jushiro, I pray you're living a long, healthy life, he whispered to the night. The thought of seeing Jushiro again, free of illness, brought a faint smile to his lips. When Naruto wasn't mastering the Nara clan's shadow techniques, he devoted himself to his swordsmanship. Using a wooden practice sword, he swung with a grace that belied his age. Each movement carried a quiet confidence, as though his body remembered skills he had yet to truly learn. The younger Nara children often gathered to watch him practice, their eyes wide with awe. Shikamaru, however, leaned against a tree nearby, his expression unreadable. What kind of technique is that? Shikamaru finally asked, breaking the silence. Naruto grinned. Just a style I came up with. Cool, huh? Shikamaru raised an eyebrow but didn't press further, knowing Naruto well enough to recognize when he was dodging a question. One morning, Naruto decided to wear an eye patch over his right eye. As he came downstairs for breakfast, Yoshino gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Naruto, what happened to your eye? She asked, rushing to his side. Naruto chuckled nervously, holding up his hands. Relax, Mom. My eye's fine, see? He lifted the eye patch to reveal his perfectly fine eye. She exhaled deeply, her hands on her hips. Don't scare me like that again. Shikaku, watching from a distance, smirked. What's with the eye patch then? Naruto rubbed the back of his neck sheepishly. I just think it looks cool. Shikaku, who had been observing from the doorway, smirked. You're quite the eccentric, son. Naruto grinned. Thanks, Dad. Yoshino sighed, shaking her head but couldn't hide the small smile tugging at her lips. At the academy, Naruto often found himself observing the complicated dynamics of his classmates. Today, his attention was drawn to Ino and Sakura, who were once again arguing over Sasuke. It's ridiculous you both can sit next to him, he muttered under his breath, shaking his head. What did you say? Ino snapped, turning to glare at him. Nothing, Naruto replied with a lazy wave of his hand, rolling his right eye. As the argument continued, Naruto noticed Shino standing off to the side, occasionally glancing at their group. He had seen this pattern enough times to know the boy was curious but hesitant. Hey, Shino! Naruto called out, waving him over. Shino stiffened, clearly caught off guard. Come join us. Shino hesitated, glancing at Hinata, who stood nearby. Naruto smiled warmly. You too, Hinata. We don't bite. Hinata's cheeks turned pink as she fidgeted, but Shino gave her a reassuring nod before they both approached. As they settled in, Naruto made a point of including them in the conversation. So, Shino, any cool bug stories to share? Shino blinked, his surprise evident even behind his glasses. You want to hear about my insects? Of course. Bugs are fascinating, Naruto replied earnestly. Shino's shoulders relaxed slightly as he began explaining the abilities of his Kikaichu. Hinata, though quiet, smiled softly, her gaze occasionally flickering toward Naruto. Years passed, and the day of graduation arrived. Naruto stood with his friends as they celebrated their success. Told you we'd pass, Naruto said with a grin. Troublesome, Shikamaru muttered, though the faintest hint of a smile played on his lips. As they left the academy, Mizuki approached Naruto, his tone friendly but overly so. Naruto, can I talk to you for a moment? Naruto glanced at his friends. Go on without me. I'll catch up. Mizuki's proposition came with a promise of promotion to Chunin if Naruto retrieved the scroll. Naruto saw through the man's deceit but played along, pretending to be eager. Naruto informed Shikaku of the situation. We should report this to the Hokage, Shikaku said, his tone firm. I want to handle it myself, Naruto replied. Shikaku frowned. It's dangerous, Naruto. You've always said you hate fighting. He quotes what Naruto told him: it doesn't matter whether you owe someone or they owe you. As soon as you start fighting, you are in the wrong either way. Naruto nodded, his expression serious. I still believe that, Dad. But sometimes you have to fight to protect what matters. Shikaku studied his son for a long moment before sighing. Fine, but I'm coming with you. Thanks, Dad. Naruto's smile was grateful. Unbeknownst to them, Shikamaru had overheard the conversation. He leaned back against the wall, sighing to himself. Naruto's such a contradiction. Lazy and energetic at the same time. What a drag. Night enveloped the rendezvous point. Naruto stood in the clearing, his twin wooden swords strapped to his back. Shikaku remained hidden in the shadows, his sharp eyes watching for any sign of danger. When Mizuki arrived, his sneer was evident. Where's the scroll? He demanded. Naruto didn't answer. Instead, he crossed his arms, a smirk tugging at his lips. Where is the scroll? Mizuki repeated, his tone dripping with annoyance. Naruto chuckled. He summoned two blades out of thin air. His voice was calm but carried an undertone of challenge as he uttered a poem. The flowery winds become disturbed. The god of flowers sings. The heavenly winds become disturbed. The devil of heaven sneers. In an instant, a flash of light illuminated the clearing. When it faded, Naruto stood wielding two massive, curved black scimitars. Their silver edges gleamed ominously under the moonlight. Both Mizuki and Shikaku stared, stunned. Mizuki's sneer returned, though it faltered slightly. Naruto tilted his head, his smirk widening. Forget the scroll. Are you up for a game? I don't have time for games, Mizuki snapped. You don't have a choice, Naruto said, his tone playful yet dangerous. Mizuki sneered, his confidence swelling despite the presence of Naruto's ominous scimitars. You think some flashy weapons are going to scare me, brat? You've got no idea who you're dealing with. Naruto tilted his head, giving Mizuki a lazy smile. You know, sensei, I was hoping you'd say that. Makes the game more fun. Game? Mizuki asked, his sneer turning into a confused frown. Naruto pointed one of his scimitars at him. Yeah. I'm a big fan of games. Let's start with something easy. Shall we start with something simple? A game of spinning tops. Mizuki's confusion was evident. Spinning tops? What are you talking about? Naruto raised one of his blades and gave it a lazy twirl, a gust of wind emanating from the motion. This game is called Bushigoma. It's simple, I spin, and the wind does the rest. Let's see how well you can keep up. Before Mizuki could respond, Naruto began to spin in place, his blades held at opposite angles. The motion created two arcs of wind that quickly merged into a vortex, forming a massive spinning circle of air. The wind howled as it charged toward Mizuki, who barely leapt out of the way in time. The vortex changed direction midair, homing in on Mizuki like a living entity. It struck the ground near him, erupting into a tornado-like storm that pulled him into its grasp. Mizuki shouted as he fought to keep his footing, his weapons useless against the powerful winds. Hidden in the shadows, Shikaka narrowed his eyes. That's no ordinary technique. Where did Naruto learn this? Naruto stopped spinning, his swords returning to rest on his shoulders. The winds began to die down, leaving Mizuki disoriented and battered. Not bad, Naruto said casually. But I think you'll like the next game better. Mizuki stumbled to his feet, glaring daggers at Naruto. Enough of your stupid games! I will kill you, brat! Naruto ignored him, lowering his swords. This one's called Kajioni. It's a shadow game. The rule is simple, whoever gets their shadow stepped on loses. Mizuki's eyes darted to the ground, where the moonlight cast their long shadows across the clearing. His lip curled into a sneer. Shadows? That's all? Naruto's grin widened as he melted into the shadows at his feet, disappearing from sight. Not quite. You see, I can hide in shadows and control them. Naruto hides the fact that Mizuki can also hide in the shadows and control them during the game. Suddenly, multiple shadow clones of Naruto emerged from the surrounding darkness, their blades drawn. Mizuki spun around, his eyes wide as he tried to track them all. Which one's real? Mizuki snarled, swinging wildly at the nearest clone. The shadow clone dissipated into darkness, only for another to appear behind him. As Mizuki turned, Naruto's voice echoed from all directions. Careful, Mizuki-sensei. If I step on your shadow, it's game over. Mizuki growled in frustration, slashing at another clone, only to realize too late that his own shadow had begun to stretch unnaturally. The real Naruto emerged from the darkness, stepping squarely onto Mizuki's shadow. Mizuki froze as a sharp chill ran up his spine. He tried to move, but his body refused to obey. What is this? You lose, Naruto said, his voice calm but cold. Mizuki screamed as the shadow beneath him twisted unnaturally, rising up like tendrils to constrict his arms and legs. One tendril lashed out, slamming into Mizuki's side with enough force to send him stumbling backward. Your shadow can be a dangerous thing, Naruto remarked, stepping back into the moonlight. Be careful where you stand. Shikaka's keen eyes analyzed every move. His worry began to wane, replaced by curiosity and pride. He's more skilled than I thought, but where did he get these powers? Naruto stepped closer, dismissing the shadows. Still want to play? He asked, his tone almost teasing. Mizuki glared at him, sweat dripping down his face. You're a freak. Naruto chuckled, tapping one of his scimitars against his shoulder. Name-calling, Mizuki-sensei? I thought teachers were supposed to set an example. Mizuki regained his footing, clutching his side. Enough of your stupid games. Fight me for real. Naruto shrugged, a lazy grin spreading across his face. All right, let's play Kajiokuri. Mizuki frowned. What's that supposed to mean? Figure out which one of me is real, Naruto said simply. Before Mizuki could respond, Naruto blurred out of sight, and the clearing was suddenly filled with flickering afterimages of him. Each afterimage appeared to dart toward Mizuki before vanishing, leaving him spinning in circles, unsure of where the real Naruto was. Mizuki slashed at one image, only for his kunai to pass harmlessly through it. Another afterimage leapt at him from the side, causing Mizuki to panic and swing wildly. You're wasting energy, Mizuki-sensei, Naruto's voice taunted. The afterimages weren't entirely realistic, faint and flickering like distorted shadows. Mizuki's weak Raikaku, Ryatsu sense, made the game easier for him. Finally, Mizuki lunged at an afterimage, only to feel cold steel press against his back. Wrong again, Naruto whispered in his ear, his blade resting lightly on Mizuki's shoulder. Naruto stepped back, spinning his scimitars in his hands. Let's make this even more fun. Time for irony. Here's how it works. I pick a color, and my attacks will only count if they match that color. Let's go with green. Naruto again withheld that Mizuki can use the ability too. Mizuki stiffened, glancing at his own green flak jacket. What kind of nonsense? Before he could finish, Naruto dashed forward, his blades slicing through the air. Mizuki raised his kunai to block, but Naruto's first strike was a feint, drawing Mizuki's defense away from his torso. Naruto followed up with a clean slash across Mizuki's jacket, cutting through the fabric and grazing his skin. Green, Naruto said calmly, stepping back. Mizuki staggered, his hand flying to his chest. Blood seeped through the torn jacket where Naruto had struck him. See? Naruto said, his tone light. If I didn't call the right color, it wouldn't have worked. But since you're wearing so much green, my strikes hurt a lot more. Mizuki gritted his teeth, charging at Naruto with a roar. This time, Naruto didn't move, letting Mizuki close the distance before sidestepping gracefully. Naruto spun, his blade carving through Mizuki's jacket again, creating another deep gash. Green, he repeated, his voice almost mocking. Mizuki dropped to his knees, gasping for breath as his strength began to fade. Naruto sighed, his playful demeanor replaced by a cold seriousness. You made the wrong choice, Mizuki. You could have been a teacher who helped people. Instead, you tried to use me. You lose, Mizuki-sensei. Shikaku stepped out from the shadows, his expression unreadable. That's enough, Naruto. He's done. Naruto sighed, lowering his blades. The scimitars dissolved into black mist, disappearing entirely. You're no fun, Dad, Naruto said, turning back toward Mizuki. And here I thought we could play a little longer. Mizuki collapsed, trembling with fear and pain. You're not human. Naruto glanced over his shoulder, his smile returning. Maybe not. But you should have thought of that before trying to mess with me. Shikaku placed a firm hand on Naruto's shoulder, steering him away from the defeated man. Let's report this to the Hokage. You've done enough for one night. Naruto nodded, his usual carefree demeanor slipping back into place. Fine, but you owe me a game of shogi when we get back. Shikaku sighed, a faint smirk tugging at his lips. You're relentless, kid. Shikaku's body flickered into the Hokage's office with Naruto and the restrained Mizuki in tow. The late hour cast shadows across the room, and the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, looked up from a stack of reports with a mix of curiosity and concern. What brings you here so late, Shikaku? Hiruzen's eyes briefly lingered on the subdued Mizuki, his expression hardening. Shikaku gave a tired sigh before relaying the events of the night. Mizuki attempted to manipulate Naruto into stealing the forbidden scroll. However, Naruto saw through his deception and dealt with him. Hiruzen's gaze shifted to Naruto, who stood lazily with his arms crossed, clearly unbothered by the situation. The Hokage then gestured for the ANBU stationed in the room. Take Mizuki to TI. Let's see what else he's been up to, Hiruzen instructed. The ANBU disappeared with Mizuki in tow. With Mizuki gone, Hiruzen turned back to Naruto, a hint of curiosity sparking in his eyes. Naruto, how exactly did you defeat Mizuki? Naruto shrugged nonchalantly. I beat him at kids' games. The Hokage raised an eyebrow and glanced at Shikaku, silently asking for confirmation. Shikaku, hands in his pockets, simply nodded. Hiruzen chuckled, his laughter filling the room. Children's games, you say, how fitting for someone like you, Naruto. As Shikaku and Naruto walked through the quiet streets of Konoha, Shikaku glanced sideways at his son. So, Naruto, those swords of yours. And the games you mentioned, care to elaborate? Naruto adjusted the eye patch on his face, letting out a small yawn. The blades are a manifestation of my soul, he explained. Their power reflects who I am, my love for games, strategy, and fun. Shikaku raised an eyebrow, finding the concept intriguing. Manifesting your soul into weapons and gaining abilities based on your personality, now that's something. Naruto smirked but didn't bother clarifying that this ability was unique to Shinigami. Morning of team placements. The Nara family sat at the breakfast table, a familiar atmosphere of laziness and calm filling the room. Shikaku leaned back in his chair, looking at his two sons. So who would you two like to be paired with? Shikamaru shrugged. Anyone strong. Naruto gave a lazy smile. Same. As long as my teammates are competent, I won't have to work too hard. Yoshino frowned, setting down her tea with a sharp clink. You boys and your lazy attitudes. Honestly, is it too much to hope for some ambition? Shikaku chuckled. You married into this, dear? Yoshino sighed, shaking her head. Naruto and Shikamaru met up with Choji and Ino on the way to the academy. As they walked, the topic of team placements naturally came up. So, who do you guys hope to team up with? Ino asked brightly. Doesn't matter, Naruto replied. Just give me competent teammates so I can slack off. Same, Shikamaru added, yawning. Lazy as ever, Ino scolded, hands on her hips. Choji smiled, munching on a bag of chips. I just hope I'm with you guys. At the academy. The classroom buzzed with excitement as Irika stepped forward, congratulating the students on becoming genin. Now, onto the team placements, Irika announced, silencing the chatter. Team 7, Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, and Naruto Nara. Your sensei will be Kakashi Hatake. Naruto leaned back in his seat, muttering, great babysitting duty. Team 8, Kiba Inuzuka, Shino Aburame, and Hinata Hyuga. Your sensei will be Kurina Yehi. Team 10, Ino Yamanaka, Choji Akimichi, and Shikamaru Nara. Your sensei will be Asuma Sarutobi. 3 hours later. Kakashi finally appeared, sauntering into the classroom. Before he could say anything, Sakura immediately began scolding him. You're 3 hours late. The noise roused Naruto from his nap, and he groggily opened his eye. What's with all the yelling? On the academy rooftop. When it was Naruto's turn to introduce himself, he lazily said, Naruto Nara. I like my family, friends, Kaiten and Kaikatsu, and games. I dislike fighting. My dream? For the world to achieve peace someday. Kakashi raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Returning home. When Naruto returned home, Yoshino was waiting. How did it go? Naruto sighed, leaning against the doorway. Looks like I'm gonna have to carry my team. Yoshino frowned. That bad, huh? The next day. Training Ground 7. Naruto arrived first. He took the opportunity to lay in the grass and went off to dreamland. When Sasuke and Sakura arrived, Sasuke's eyes were drawn to the 2 swords tied to Naruto's waist. Why does this lazy bum even have swords? He muttered, intrigued. Hours passed before Kakashi finally arrived, prompting another scolding from Sakura. Her yelling once again woke Naruto. The test. Kakashi explained the test and the rules, earning glares from Sakura and Sasuke cause he tricked them into not eating breakfast. When Kakashi asked Naruto why he ate, Naruto simply smirked. My mom told me to tell you that if you try pulling something like that again, you'll have a problem. Kakashi paled, nodding quickly. After Sakura and Sasuke were taken out of the fight, Sakura by Genjutsu and Sasuke by Kakashi's Mold Jutsu, Kakashi waited for Naruto's move. Suddenly, his book was ripped from his hands. He turned to see Naruto standing behind him, flipping through the pages. Kakashi quickly distanced himself. Naruto giggled. Gotta say, sensei, you've got good taste. Kakashi gave him a thumbs up. Well, even a ninja needs a good hobby. Naruto tossed the book back. As he unstrapped his blades, he placed them together and recited the release command. The flowery winds become disturbed, the god of flowers sings, the heavenly winds become disturbed, the devil of heaven sneers. A bright flash of light erupted. When it faded, Naruto stood holding 2 black curved scimitars. Kakashi's expression grew serious. What are those? Naruto smirked. So, Kakashi-sensei, what do you think about games? Kakashi tilted his head, his eye crinkling with amusement. Games, huh? Well, they're fun until you realize your opponent was playing on a whole different level. Naruto's grin widened. Good answer, sensei. Let's see how well you play. Chapter 5. Kakashi leaned back slightly, his lone visible eye narrowing in amusement as he answered Naruto's earlier question. Games? I like them, when they don't put my life on the line, he said with a dry chuckle, his hand hovering near his kunai pouch. But I suppose I don't have much choice here, do I? Naruto grinned, holding his twin scimitars loosely. Nope. But don't worry, sensei. I'll keep it fun for you. Now, let's start with the rules. We're going to play a few rounds of my favorite games. Each one has its own twist. Let's see how good you are at keeping up. Kakashi exhaled deeply, adopting a ready stance. Fine. What's the first game? Naruto crossed his blades in front of him and twisted his wrists, the scimitars spinning at high speed. This one's simple. I spin, spin and spin. Try not to get caught in the wind, sensei. With a flourish, Naruto leapt into the air and began to rotate, his scimitars emitting sharp, cutting winds. As the winds converged into a massive spinning vortex, the grass beneath them was torn to shreds, and small debris flew everywhere. Kakashi's eye widened. Wind manipulation? He muttered before leaping away. The swirling winds chased him, forming a tornado that spiraled toward him with devastating force. Kakashi reached into his pouch, hurling a series of explosive kunai into the oncoming vortex. The explosions disrupted the outer layer of the winds, but the core continued to push forward. Naruto's voice echoed through the swirling winds. What's wrong, sensei? Having trouble keeping up with the spinning top? Kakashi clicked his tongue and flipped backward, narrowly avoiding the vortex's pull. In a flash of insight, he imbued his tanto with lightning chakra and slashed at the spinning wind as it closed in. The electric surge disrupted the technique, dispersing the vortex into harmless gusts. Landing lightly, Kakashi adjusted his headband. That was close. So, is this how you fight? Turning children's games into deadly techniques? Naruto smirked. Games are just more fun. Let's see if you can handle the next one. Naruto stepped back, spinning one of his scimitars in his hand. As he did, glowing, translucent lily pads began to appear, floating midair between them. This one's called Kira Jump. We leap from pad to pad, dodging each other's attacks. But if you miss or fall, you're wide open for a counter. Kakashi scanned the battlefield. The lily pads weren't solid objects but flickered faintly, like projections. Testing one, he leapt onto it and felt a faint resistance underfoot. Interesting, he muttered. Naruto moved first, springing from one pad to another with effortless grace, firing bursts of wind from his blades to disrupt Kakashi's footing. Kakashi countered by leaping higher, using kunai to anchor himself when the pads threatened to fade beneath him. As their movements grew faster, Naruto's strikes became more precise, his scimitars slashing through the air to create waves of cutting pressure. Kakashi narrowly evaded the attacks. You're pretty nimble for an old man, sensei, Naruto called out, grinning. You are not so bad yourself, for a lazy bum, Kakashi shot back, using the distraction to feint a retreat before throwing a kunai laced with an explosive tag. The explosion knocked Naruto off balance, but the boy recovered midair, flipping onto another pad. Naruto laughed. Not bad. But let's kick it up a notch. As the lily pads vanished, Naruto raised his blades, spiritual threads extending from their tips. He manipulated them with deft movements, weaving them into intricate patterns. Welcome to Ayatori. If you get caught in this, breaking free is going to cost you, sensei. Kakashi watched warily as the thread shot toward him, crisscrossing to form a web-like snare. He dodged the first wave, but the threads followed, bending and twisting unnaturally to trap him. Activating his Raikiri, Kakashi slashed through a portion of the web, only for more threads to replace it. Persistent little game, he muttered, using his Sharingan to predict the thread's movements. Naruto frowned as he noticed Kakashi's movements becoming sharper. Oh? Finally using the Sharingan? About time, sensei. Kakashi didn't respond, his focus entirely on the threads. With a burst of chakra, he leapt high into the air, flipping over the web entirely and hurling a bunch of lightning-charged kunai at Naruto. Naruto deflected it with one scimitar. Not bad, he admitted, retracting the threads. But I've got more up my sleeve. Naruto raised a hand, spinning one of his scimitars lazily. Time for the classic. Irony. The rules are simple. I declare my color, green, and you declare yours. Kakashi tilted his head slightly, his eyes narrowing as he glanced at Naruto. After a brief pause, he responded, black. Naruto's grin widened. Great choice, sensei. Now, remember, damage depends on how much of the declared color we hit. I'll be aiming for your green, and you'll be aiming for my black. Kakashi nodded, his expression unreadable as he shifted into a low stance, his tanto gleaming with faint chakra. Naruto dashed forward, his twin scimitars cutting through the. He aimed for Kakashi's green flak jacket, forcing the Jonin to twist out of the way. Kakashi retaliated with a sharp upward slash of his tanto, narrowly missing the black trim on Naruto's sleeves. You're quick, Kakashi admitted, stepping back to create distance. Naruto smirked. Thanks. But you'll have to be faster than that, sensei. Closing the gap again, Naruto launched a flurry of attacks, his blades targeting Kakashi's jacket with pinpoint accuracy. Kakashi parried with his tanto, redirecting the strikes expertly. Using his Sharingan subtly, Kakashi predicted Naruto's next move. When Naruto lunged low, aiming for the stomach, Kakashi leapt to the side and slashed downward, aiming for the black accents on Naruto's back. Naruto barely managed to block, using one scimitar to intercept the tanto while the other swung wide to graze Kakashi's shoulder. The faint green edge of the fabric was sliced, but the damage was minimal. "You're getting closer, Sensei," Naruto teased. "But not close enough." Kakashi adjusted his stance. With his movements sharper and more calculated, he pressed the offensive, feinting toward Naruto's scabbards before pivoting to target the black trim on his sash. Naruto's eyes widened as he twisted to avoid the strike, the blade grazing the edge of the sash but failing to cut it cleanly. "Close," Naruto admitted, leaping back. "But let's see how you handle this." Naruto's movements became erratic, unpredictable, his scimitars spinning like whirlwinds. He targeted Kakashi's flak jacket relentlessly, forcing the Jonin to stay on the defensive. Despite Kakashi's Sharingan, Naruto's feints made it difficult to avoid every strike. With a sudden burst of speed, Naruto spun low, his blade carving a clean cut through the green on Kakashi's stomach. Kakashi stepped back, clutching his stomach. "Not bad," he muttered, his tone dry. "You're not making this easy, Sensei," Naruto said, standing tall and catching his breath. "But I think that's enough for this round." Naruto's grin widened as he sheathed his blades. "Last game. Onigako. Tag. The Oni can attack freely, while the other must avoid being caught to retain their ability to counterattack. Kaiten and Kaikatsu will decide who's the Oni." The twin spirits' laughter echoed faintly as a black mark appeared on Kakashi's chest. "Looks like I am it, Sensei," Naruto said, darting away with surprising speed. Kakashi's eye narrowed. "So, I'm supposed to catch you?" "Yup. But if you take too long, the roles switch, and I'll be coming after you." The game began with Kakashi pursuing Naruto across the training field, using his Sharingan to predict the boy's movements. Naruto, however, was slippery, using bursts of wind and agile leaps to evade capture. When the mark on Kakashi's chest began to fade, he realized the switch was imminent. As the mark transferred to Naruto, the boy turned on him with a mischievous grin. "My turn!" Naruto's speed and unpredictability forced Kakashi on the defensive, the two engaging in a rapid exchange of strikes and counters. The game ended with Naruto managing to tap Kakashi on the shoulder, his grin triumphant. Kakashi exhaled heavily, lowering his tanto. "You weren't kidding about keeping it fun. But those games of yours, they're more dangerous than they look." Naruto laughed, sheathing his blades. "That's the point, Sensei. Games aren't just fun, they're a way to keep things interesting." Kakashi adjusted his headband. "I'll keep that in mind." With that, the clock rang, signaling the end of the test. As the clock rang, the sharp sound pierced through Sakura's daze, pulling her out of the genjutsu. Blinking groggily, she stumbled to her feet, her vision swimming as she surveyed the training ground. Her head throbbed, but she forced herself to move forward, determination overriding the lingering effects of Kakashi's illusion. Not far ahead, she spotted a figure stuck awkwardly in the dirt. Her eyes widened as realization struck. "Sasuke?" she whispered, taking a hesitant step forward. "Sasuke is dead," she screamed, the words tearing out of her throat as she dropped to her knees. Tears welled in her eyes, and her vision blurred as dizziness overtook her. A low, irritated groan cut through her panic. "Dead? Are you an idiot? Dig me out already!" Sasuke barked. Sakura froze, the color rushing back to her face. Embarrassment mingled with relief as she stammered, "Why, you're alive?" "Of course, I'm alive," he snapped, glaring at her. "Now hurry up and dig before I really do lose circulation." Scrambling to her feet, Sakura began clawing at the dirt with trembling hands. It took several minutes of grueling effort, but eventually, Sasuke was free. He staggered slightly, brushing the dirt off his clothes with as much dignity as he could muster. "Next time, don't assume I'm dead," he muttered, his cheeks tinged with faint embarrassment. As the two regrouped, they found Naruto and Kakashi already waiting. Naruto leaned casually against a stump, while Kakashi stood with his hands in his pockets, his signature lazy demeanor masking his sharp gaze. Kakashi's voice broke the tense silence. "Well, I'll make this simple. You all failed," he said, his tone matter-of-fact. Sakura's face paled. Sasuke scowled, his fists clenching. "Sakura, your performance was the worst of the group. As a result, you'll be tied to the stump. Kakashi." As Sakura was about to get tied up, Naruto stepped forward with a cheeky grin. No need for that, sensei. Kakashi's visible eye narrowed. What do you mean? Naruto held up his hand, and two small objects dangled from his fingers, the bells. Kakashi blinked, his hand reflexively going to his waist. The bells were indeed gone. When did you? Naruto chuckled, his grin widening. Let's just say you were having too much fun with the games to notice me snatching them. Kakashi's mind raced, replaying the events of the last few minutes. When did he steal them? During spinning top? Kiri jump? Or was it during Ayatori? No, it must have been during Irony when I was distracted by countering his strikes. A part of him was frustrated that he'd been outmaneuvered by a newly promoted genin. But another part, one he couldn't ignore, was deeply impressed. He got me. A fresh genin pulled one over on me, the copy ninja. I underestimated him. This kid isn't just skilled, he's cunning. Kakashi let out a soft chuckle, shaking his head. Alright, Naruto. What are you going to do with the bells? Naruto turned to his teammates, his gaze serious now. Before I decide, let me ask you two something. What do you think the real purpose of this test was? Kakashi's brow rose slightly, his interest piqued. He's figured it out, hasn't he? This kid a lazy genius like Shikaku. Sakura hesitated before speaking, her voice uncertain. The purpose it was to take the bells from Kakashi-sensei, right? Naruto made a loud buzzing noise, mimicking a game show wrong answer sound. Yeah, wrong. Sakura frowned, her face flushing with embarrassment. Then what? Naruto turned to Sasuke. What about you? Sasuke's expression was calm, but his voice betrayed a flicker of irritation. The same. To take the bells from Kakashi. Naruto shook his head. Nope. Think harder. Why would Kakashi-sensei give us such an unreasonable test? I mean, come on. A group of newly promoted genin against a jonin? That's like asking a snail to outrun a hawk. Both Sakura and Sasuke fell silent, their brows furrowing in thought. Sakura clenched her fists. Unreasonable, he's right. There was no way we could have beaten Kakashi-sensei. Then what was the point? It has to be something more than just individual skill. Maybe it's about how we work together? But we didn't even try that. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. We were told to focus on getting the bells, but Naruto's right, it was a setup. Kakashi wanted us to fail. Why? Because we didn't work as a team? That makes sense. I was too focused on proving myself. Finally, Sakura glanced at Sasuke, who gave a slight nod. Together, they turned to Kakashi. It's about teamwork, Sakura said softly. Kakashi's eye curved into a smile. Exactly. Kakashi crossed his arms, his tone turning serious. This test wasn't about your individual skills or how strong you are. It was about teamwork. On missions, if you don't work together, you're going to fail. And sometimes, failing means more than just messing up a mission, it can mean losing a teammate. He paused, letting his words sink in. In this world, those who break the rules are considered scum, he continued. But those who abandon their comrades are worse than scum. Sakura looked down, shamefaced. Sasuke's jaw tightened, his gaze locked on the ground. Naruto, however, stood tall, his expression unreadable. Naruto broke the silence, stepping forward. Then let's do it over, sensei. Kakashi blinked. What? Let's do the test over, Naruto said, his tone resolute. This time, we'll work as a team. No solo acts, no selfish moves. Just teamwork. Sasuke and Sakura looked at him, surprise flickering across their faces. Slowly, they nodded. Kakashi chuckled softly, his eye crinkling. You're an interesting one, Naruto. All right. Let's do it over. And with that, the team prepared themselves for a fresh start. At home. Yoshino asked how the test went. Naruto told her the whole story. At the Hokage Tower. As the final Jonin finished delivering their report to the Hokage, detailing whether their respective teams passed or failed, all eyes turned to Kakashi. His reputation for failing every team he tested made his results the most anticipated. Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage, gestured for Kakashi to speak. Kakashi's signature eye smile was firmly in place as he said, Team 7 passed. A collective gasp rippled through the room. The other Jonin exchanged incredulous looks. Kakashi's team had passed? It was practically unheard of. Asuma leaned back, stroking his beard thoughtfully. It's got to be Naruto, he reasoned. He figured Naruto's unorthodox nature played a key role in the outcome. Kakashi continued, while they passed, there's a lot of work to be done. Their teamwork is shaky, and they'll need to improve drastically if they want to survive real missions. Hiruzen nodded and asked for Kakashi's individual assessments. Sakura, Kakashi began, needs to work on everything. She lacks strength, awareness, and confidence, but she has potential if she applies herself. Sasuke's taijutsu is adequate, and his fire ninjutsu is impressive for his age, Kakashi continued. However, he tends to get heated when provoked, which could be exploited by an opponent. Finally, Kakashi's visible eye glinted with curiosity. Naruto is different. His swordsmanship is remarkable, and his speed is far above genin level. However, his real strength lies in his creativity. His ability to adapt and strategize is exceptional. With the report concluded, Hiruzen dismissed everyone except Kakashi. As the door closed, Hiruzen leaned forward. So, Kakashi, by any chance did you and Naruto play children's games during the test? Kakashi nodded. Intrigued, Hiruzen pressed on. How do these games work in combat? Kakashi explained, Naruto's twin swords, Kaiten and Kaikatsu, possess a unique ability. They can transform children's games into reality. During the test, we played several games. Bushigoma, Kira Jump, Ayatori Snare, Irony, and Onigako Duel. Hiruzen listened intently as Kakashi described how Naruto used the games to force him into complex situations where even his Sharingan couldn't easily predict the outcome. These swords are fascinating, Hiruzen mused, stroking his beard. Do you know where he got them? No, Kakashi admitted. But they're unlike anything I've seen before. After a moment of contemplation, Hiruzen dismissed Kakashi, making a mental note to keep a closer eye on Naruto's unique abilities. At the Nara household, the family gathered around the dinner table. How did the tests go? Shikaka asked, his sharp eyes scanning the group. Shikamaru shrugged lazily. We passed. Asuma's test was a waste of time. All we had to do was catch him in under an hour. He ran around for 50 minutes, then just stopped running in the last 10. Yoshino chuckled. Sounds like he wanted to see how persistent you'd be. Shikamaru grumbled but smirked as he thought that Naruto's test might have been harder. When it was Naruto's turn to share, he said bluntly, we failed. You failed to work together. Shikaka. Naruto nodded. You fought Kakashi, didn't you? Shikaka asked. Naruto nodded again. Shikaka's lips curled into a knowing smile. And? Who won? We called it a draw, Naruto replied. Shikaka chuckled. Better luck next time. Shikamaru, envious, thought, lucky Naruto, he is going back to the academy, meanwhile I am stuck with ninja duties. What a drag. Shikamaru. Yoshino chuckles as she tells Naruto to stop playing. Naruto explained that they'd been given a second chance at the test. Troublesome, Shikamaru muttered, though his mood noticeably improved. If they both passed, at least he wouldn't have to deal with it alone. Chapter 7. A few days later. There's a legend that runs through town, all the way from the capital of the Fire Nation itself. Its yowls send the winds a-howling. Its claws have clawed up many faces. Most ninjas look like hell after they deal with this monstrosity of a brown fur ball with a red ribbon on its right ear. I'm talking about a hissing old cat named Tora, that raises hell in Konoha every Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. When Team 7 received the task to catch Tora, Sakura and Sasuke begrudgingly began searching. Kakashi, as usual, stayed in the background, while Naruto disappeared entirely. Flashback. Naruto wandered through the quieter parts of the village, following faint scratches and yowls. Eventually, he spotted Tora perched on a fence, her fur bristling. Hey there, Naruto said softly. Tora hissed at him, her claws unsheathed. Relax. I'm not here to hurt you, Naruto continued, his voice calm. Slowly, he extended his hand, careful not to startle her. Tora glared at him suspiciously, but the soft, rhythmic tone of his voice eased her nerves. Naruto reached into his pouch, pulling out a small piece of dried fish he'd swiped from the kitchen earlier. Here. Peace offering, he said, tossing it gently. Tora sniffed, then cautiously approached. She devoured the fish in seconds, glancing at him with a flicker of curiosity. Naruto held out another piece, letting her eat from his hand. Before long, Tora relaxed enough to climb into his arms. Flashback end. On the Hokage Monument. As Team 7 continued to search, Naruto sat on the Hokage Monument, stroking Tora and gazed over the village. When he finally responded to his earpiece, Sakura's voice erupted with frustration. When he rejoined them, Sakura chewed him out, and Sasuke's glare could have burned holes through him. Did you sense the cat's distress? Kakashi asked with a chuckle. Naruto nodded, ignoring the confused looks from his teammates. At the Hokage Tower, Sakura and Sasuke winced as Madame Shirjimi crushed Tora in a tight embrace. They now fully understood why the cat ran away. Madame Shirjimi, may I have a word? Naruto asked politely. Oh, but of course. Anything for the ones who brought back my precious Tora-chan, Madame Shirjimi replied. Tora let out a sigh of relief as the squeezing stopped. Well, this is about Tora. She feels that her home life is, well, for a lack of a better word, bad. I don't know what exactly she doesn't like about it, but I would recommend that you try and find out so that Tora no longer feels the need to run away from you all the time, Naruto explained. Oh my Tora-chan! I am so sorry if I have been mistreating you in any way. Just let me know what is wrong and I will fix it immediately, Shirjimi exclaimed as she squeezed Tora again. Madam, I think I know what keeps making Tora run. Naruto's sweat dropped. Oh. And what would that be, young man? She asked, ever curious of what she'd do to help her Tora out. Don't squeeze her so tight. She looks uncomfortable. Naruto pointed towards the cat whose eyes were bugging out. Oh Tora-chan! I am so sorry! Shirjimi shouted as she loosened her grip on the cat. Tora immediately relaxed into her owner's grip and nuzzled into her. Thank you, young man, I hope to see you again in the future. Hiruzen, observing the exchange, couldn't hide his amusement. Kakashi gave Naruto a subtle thumbs up, silently relieved that Tora's reign of terror might finally be over. Few days later. Naruto's inner world. The setting was breathtaking. Rolling fields of lush, vibrant green grass stretched as far as the eye could see, dotted with colorful flower beds swaying gently in an unseen breeze. Towering trees framed the horizon, their leaves whispering softly as if sharing secrets with the wind. In the farthest corner of this tranquil paradise stood a massive, ominous cage. Behind its iron bars, the Ninetales stirred, its crimson eyes glowing with malevolence. Naruto approached casually, stopping a few feet from the cage before sitting down cross-legged in the grass. We haven't had a proper chat yet, Naruto began, his voice calm but tinged with curiosity. Don't you think it's about time we got to know each other? The Ninetales chuckled, its deep, guttural voice dripping with malice. Chat? You think I want to chat with you? I'd rather rip out your throat, boy. Naruto tilted his head, unfazed by the fox's venomous tone. Why can't we just get along? The fox's claws slammed against the bars, the sound echoing like a thunderclap. The force of the strike made the ground beneath Naruto tremble slightly. Get along? With a human? The fox's eyes narrowed, its gaze seething with disdain. You and your kind are nothing but parasites. I curse the day your wretched father, Minato, sealed me inside you. Naruto sighed but didn't flinch. The mention of his father didn't shock him. He had learned the truth about his heritage years ago. Standing up, he dusted off his pants and turned to leave. Well, Naruto said with a smirk as he turned back to the fox, I'll free you but only if you promise not to cause trouble. The Ninetales paused, its gaze sharpening. A lie formed quickly on its lips. I promise, it said smoothly, its voice devoid of the malice it carried earlier. But its thoughts betrayed its intent. Once I'm free, I'll destroy everything starting with you. Naruto stood before the cage once again, his hand hovering over the intricate seal. With a swift motion, he tore the seal away. The cage shuddered and began to dissolve as an oppressive wave of chakra erupted from within. The Ninetales roared, its immense form bursting free. In an instant, its massive claws swiped at Naruto. Naruto dodged the strike with practiced ease. From behind him, Kaiten materialized. As she hugged him, an amused expression formed on her face. You knew this would happen and yet let it out, she said, her voice laced with teasing familiarity. Naruto smirked. Ohana, you wound me. How was I supposed to know the big guy wouldn't keep his word? Kaiten chuckled softly. Because, Naruto-kun, you're as clever as you are reckless. Kaiten vanished, her form dissipating as Naruto unstrapped both her and Kaikatsu from his waist. The Ninetales reared back and released a deafening roar. The sound reverberated through the inner world, shattering the tranquility. A violent shockwave rippled outward, uprooting trees and tearing apart the flower fields. Naruto leaped into the air using Shuinpa, hovering above the destruction. His swords gleamed in the fractured light as he waited patiently for the beast to finish its rampage. When the chaos subsided, Naruto looked down at the Nine Tails, his expression calm yet mischievous. Feel better now? The fox snarled, its massive tails lashing behind it like living whips. Do your worst, boy. I hope you can entertain me. Naruto grinned, the wind stirring his hair as he raised his blades. He brought them together, the air around him humming with energy. When the flower wind rages, the flower god roars. The landscape seemed to darken as an immense power surged through him. When the wind of heaven rages, the god of the underworld sneers. With those words, the world itself seemed to hold its breath. Before the tension could break, Naruto tilted his head slightly, a lazy grin spreading across his face. Hey, before we get started, what's your name? The Nine Tails blinked, momentarily caught off guard by the unexpected question. What nonsense is this, human? The fox snarled, though its voice carried a hint of curiosity. Naruto shrugged. If we're going to beat the hell out of each other, I'd at least like to know what to call you. Ninetales just sounds impersonal. The massive fox growled low, its claws digging into the ground. But then, unexpectedly, it chuckled, a dark, ominous sound that reverberated like thunder. Very well. I am Kurama. Remember it well, boy, for it is the name of the one who will crush you. Kurama. Naruto's grin widened. Kurama, huh? Nice name. Alright then, let's see what you've got. Kurama's lips curled into a fanged grin. Let's see if your games can match my might. Naruto vanished in an instant, reappearing midair with his swords coated in a swirling black aura. Kurama's sharp gaze caught the dark energy forming around the blades. Darkness? An intriguing trick, Kurama growled before swinging a massive paw upward. Kurama's claws barely missed Naruto as he used Shunpa to evade. In retaliation, he swung one of his blades downward, unleashing a crescent-shaped slash of pure darkness. Kurama roared as the attack cut through the air, and with a swipe of its tail, the dark slash was deflected into the ground, carving a deep trench into the field. Not bad, Naruto remarked, landing a few meters away. But I don't fight fair. With a spin, he used Bushigoma, his swords generating a spiraling tornado of wind. The vortex surged forward, its razor-sharp winds tearing through the grass and flowers as it aimed directly for Kurama. The Nine Tails leaped high into the air, its colossal frame casting a shadow over the battlefield. Kurama countered by inhaling deeply and unleashing a stream of searing flames that collided with the tornado. The two forces clashed, creating a fiery storm that scorched the earth below. Naruto was already moving, appearing behind Kurama with a burst of Shunpa. His swords gleamed as he swung them horizontally, aiming for the beast's back. But Kurama, sensing his presence, spun midair, swiping a tail toward him. Naruto barely managed to block, but the sheer force sent him hurtling backward. He skidded across the ruined field before coming to a stop. You're strong, Naruto admitted, brushing dust from his sleeve. Guess it's time to make things a bit more playful. Kurama inhaled deeply, its chest expanding as chakra gathered in its maw. The air grew heavy as a massive tailed beast ball began to form. Naruto's eyes widened. Oh, that's big. Kurama fired the sphere, the blast screaming toward Naruto with devastating speed. Naruto raised both blades, their edges glowing with shadowy energy. Dark release, black veil. A swirling black vortex formed in front of him, swallowing the tailed beast ball whole. The explosion that followed was contained within the void, the destructive power vanishing into nothingness. Kurama's eyes narrowed. Interesting, you can absorb my attacks? Naruto smirked. Something like that. Care to try again? Naruto crouched low, forming a seal with one hand. His shadow shot forward, stretching unnaturally fast across the battlefield. Shadow Possession Jutsu. The shadow connected with Kurama's, freezing the beast in place. Naruto used the opportunity to close the distance, his sword glowing with dark energy. Got you! Kurama's chakra flared violently, shattering the shadow's hold in an instant. Naruto was thrown backward, skidding to a stop as Kurama loomed over him, its crimson eyes blazing. You're clever, I'll give you that, Kurama said, its voice carrying a hint of respect. But cleverness alone won't save you. Naruto stood, wiping blood from his lip. Good thing I've got more than just cleverness. The field began to change as glowing cards materialized in the air, each inscribed with poetic lines. Kurama cocked its head, intrigued by the sudden shift in atmosphere. What is this? It demanded. A little game of Karuta, Naruto replied, his tone light. Pick a card, match a phrase, and see what happens. But choose carefully, an incompatible match can be unpleasant. Kurama growled but played along. Its tails swiped at one of the hovering cards. The chosen card disintegrated in a flash of light, revealing a poetic verse. Beneath the moon's embrace, shadows dance in fleeting grace. Kurama's eyes gleamed with curiosity. I see a game of wits and speed. It scanned the remaining cards, its tails darting like striking serpents. With a sudden lunge, Kurama chose another card, revealing the second half. In the darkest hour, even demons seek solace in place. A sphere of dark energy erupted in from the cards and launched towards Naruto. Naruto dodged with Shunpa. He smirked, twirling one of his swords lazily. Not bad. But let's see if I can match that. Naruto's sharp gaze locked onto a card. He swung his blade, slicing the air to claim it. The card dissolved into words. Where flowers bloom, life's essence flows free. He quickly matched it with another, reciting aloud. Yet even beauty's bloom hides sharp thorns of tragedy. A flurry of sakura petals burst forth, swirling around Naruto like a protective barrier. He grinned, taking the initiative to step closer to Kurama, whose tails lashed through the petals with growing impatience. You're too slow, brat, Kurama snarled, tearing through the petals and lunging forward. The beast's enormous claws crashed down, sending tremors across the battlefield. Naruto darted away with Shunpa, spotting another card mid-step. He snatched it deftly and read its line aloud. In fire's grasp, resolve is forged unyielding. Kurama's voice thundered behind him. I will take that match. A tail shot toward a glowing card, snatching it before Naruto could. And from ashes, the phoenix claims its gilded wings. The match set triggered a devastating explosion of fire, both combatants leaping back to avoid the inferno. The resulting flames scorched the field, leaving embers flickering in the wind. Nice timing, Naruto admitted, landing gracefully. Kurama huffed, its crimson eyes narrowing. Your games are far more entertaining than expected. Let's raise the stakes. The remaining cards shimmered, their movements becoming erratic as they zipped through the air. Kurama growled in annoyance, while Naruto laughed softly. What's the matter? Too quick for you? Kurama ignored the taunt and swiped at a rapidly moving card. It narrowly missed, prompting a barrage of dark energy spikes to erupt from the ground in retaliation. The beast snarled as it dodged, a spark of competitive fire flaring in its eyes. These punishments for failure, I like them. Naruto, unfazed by the chaos, focused on matching another set. A shadow's refuge, where light dares not intrude. And in that void, a deadly calm exudes. As the verses aligned, the field darkened momentarily. Tendrils of shadow slithered outward, targeting Kurama with serpentine speed. The nine tails countered with a burst of searing flames, incinerating the shadows in an instant. Kurama smirked. Impressive, but not enough. It turned its attention back to the cards, its tails moving with unparalleled precision. Within moments, it claimed two more cards, their lines completing. The roar of thunder, heralding the storm's descent. A call of nature, its wrath vehement. The completed verse summoned a violent storm, lightning crackling across the sky. Naruto dashed forward, narrowly avoiding a bolt of energy that left a crater where he had stood. The game continued with increasing intensity. Cards flew faster, their punishments more severe for missed matches. Naruto and Kurama matched verses with growing speed and cunning, each move an intricate dance of wits and reflexes. Not bad, big guy, Naruto said with a chuckle. But let's not forget who's better at games. Kurama's booming laughter echoed across the battlefield. We'll see about that, brat. This game is far from over. Naruto appeared above it once again, his swords now glowing faintly as he spoke. Alright, big guy. Let's try this irony. Naruto called out vermilion, red-orange. Naruto's next strike landed with devastating force. The blade strikes, enhanced by the rules of irony, cut deep into Kurama's flank, drawing a pained growl from the beast. Kurama snarled, understanding the rules of the game instantly. Its lips curled into a cunning grin. Pink, it declared, targeting Naruto's kimono. The next strike from Kurama's claw, despite grazing Naruto's shoulder, sent him tumbling backward with surprising force. Naruto winced, clutching his side. Clever fox, he muttered. But let's not forget I don't play fair. The two clashed repeatedly, the battlefield growing more chaotic with every exchange. Naruto's strikes landed devastating blows. In return, Kurama's attacks carried devastating force, each blow leaving Naruto gasping for breath. Kurama charged a supercharged tailed beast ball in its jaws. The swirling sphere of raw energy grew to immense size, casting a violet glow across the battlefield. Let's see if your black hole can withstand this, Kurama. The tailed beast ball collided with the black hole, the clash creating a massive shockwave that tore through the landscape. As the dust from their latest exchange began to settle, both combatants stood their ground, battered but unbroken. Naruto smirked, twirling his blades as he prepared for the next round. Still having fun, Kurama? Kurama growled, its lips curling into what could almost be called a grin. More than I expected, brat. But this is far from over. Chapter 9. The flower-strewn battlefield was in ruins, scorched and battered by the clash of titanic forces. Well, Kurama, you're as stubborn as they come, Naruto said, a wry smile playing on his lips. Guess I'll have to stop holding back. You've earned it. Kurama growled, its crimson eyes glowing with feral intensity. If you still have strength left, brat, show me. But know this, I will not fall. Naruto closed his eyes, exhaling deeply as he brought both of his blades in front of him, their tips pointing downward. A solemn air replaced his usual light-hearted demeanor. When he spoke, his voice was soft, almost mournful, but it carried the weight of finality. Beneath the withering pines, shadows dance in despair. A tale of lovers bound, entwined by fate's cruel snare. Come forth, Karamatsu Shinju, and weave the final play. Where joy fades to sorrow, and all light decays. Bankai! Black tendrils, dark as the abyss, erupted from Naruto's body, curling and twisting like ink spreading across parchment. The tendrils extended into the air, creating the skeletal outlines of pine trees. Behind him, two shadowy figures materialized, their forms indistinct yet haunting, as if drawn from an old, tragic tale. These were the spirits of Kaiten and Kaikatsu, embodiments of his Zanpakuto, their silent gazes heavy with an ominous air. The battlefield transformed as a chilling aura enveloped the area. The once vivid colors of the grass and flowers faded to a dull gray, and the sky turned an eerie shade of yellow, overlaid with what appeared to be the paneling of a theater stage. The atmosphere became oppressive, laden with despair, as if the very essence of hope had been stripped away. Kurama narrowed its eyes, feeling the weight of this new power pressing down on it. What trickery is this, brat? Kurama demanded, its voice tinged with unease. Naruto opened his eyes, now devoid of their usual playfulness, replaced by a somber intensity. This isn't trickery, Kurama. This is my Bankai, Kaiten Kaikatsu, Karamatsu Shinju. A tragic tale we're both bound to play out until the curtain falls. Ikadam, Tamurai Kizu no Wakachiai. First act, hesitance and apportionment of wounds. Naruto stepped forward, his movements slow but deliberate. He recited the poem softly. As though to share in his suffering, the wounds upon his partner's body appear upon his own. Yet in a cruel twist of fate, he cannot die from those wounds. Kurama felt the shift immediately. It bared its fangs and lunged, one massive paw swiping down at Naruto with earth-shattering force. Naruto dodged with Shuinpa, reappearing beside the beast's flank and slashing upward with one of his blades. The cut left a deep gash in Kurama's side, but at the same moment, an identical wound appeared on Naruto's torso, blood seeping through his kimono. Kurama growled, feeling both pain and confusion. You are hurting yourself, brat? Naruto chuckled grimly, his hand clutching his side. That's the beauty of this act. Every wound we inflict on each other is shared. And no matter how deep the cut, either of us can die yet. Kurama roared in defiance, its tails whipping forward in a barrage of strikes. Naruto weaved between them, his blades flashing as he landed quick cuts across Kurama's body. Each strike mirrored itself onto Naruto, who staggered but pressed on. Kurama twisted sharply, its tails swinging in unison to form a massive wall of chakra. Naruto's eyes widened as he brought his blades up, but the impact sent him flying, his body crashing into the ground. Before he could recover, Kurama closed the distance with terrifying speed, its claws slamming down. The force of the strike sent cracks racing through the earth beneath him. Despite his injuries, Naruto managed to rise, laughing lightly as he adjusted his hat. You pack quite the punch, Kurama. Night and me, Zanki no Shirtone. Second act, The Pillow of Shame. Naruto recited the next poem. Lamenting that he has caused his partner such wounds. The man collapses upon the floor in shame and is consumed by an incurable ailment. Black spots began to form across Kurama's massive body. The nine-tails snarled, trying to shake off the effects, but the spots continued to grow. Blood poured from the marks, staining the earth beneath the beast's paws. Kurama's strength began to wane as the bleeding intensified. Its massive form shuddered, and for the first time, it stumbled. "What is this?" it growled, its voice strained. "It's the weight of regret," Naruto replied, his tone uncharacteristically somber. "The more you fight, the more the shame consumes you. That's the story of this act." Kurama roared defiantly, summoning a massive surge of chakra. The energy burst outward, shaking the battlefield and dispersing some of the gloom, but the black spots remained, draining its vitality. Naruto staggered slightly, sweat dripping from his brow. Sanden Danjo no Fuchi. Third Act, The Severing Abyss. Naruto brought both blades together, their edges glowing faintly as he chanted the next poem. Resigning themselves to their fate, the two hurl themselves into the gushing waters, until no Ryatsu remains in their bodies. The ground beneath them quaked as a massive body of water materialized out of nowhere, engulfing both combatants in an inescapable abyss. The water was dark and suffocating, its currents pulling at them relentlessly. The oppressive atmosphere intensified as the two were submerged, their movements slowed by the crushing depths. Kurama thrashed, its tails lashing out in desperation as its chakra flared in a brilliant, fiery glow. The water hissed and boiled around it, but the abyss refused to yield. The two combatants locked eyes through the murky depths. Kurama's crimson gaze burned with defiance, while Naruto's expression was calm, resigned. The abyss pressed down on them both, demanding an end to their struggle. As the third act reached its climax, the water began to recede, leaving the battlefield in eerie silence. Naruto stood unsteadily, his body battered and bloodied but still upright. Kurama lay collapsed, its massive frame heaving with shallow breaths. The black spots from the second act remained, and its chakra reserves were nearly depleted. Naruto tipped his hat slightly, his voice soft but resolute. "It's been an honor, Kurama. You're one hell of an opponent." Kurama growled weakly, a hint of respect in its tone. "You fought well, brat." As Naruto stood in front of the fallen Kurama, his breathing steady but heavy, a strange warmth filled the air. Suddenly, two glowing figures emerged from the shadows of his inner world, Minato and Kushina. Their presence radiated a soft light, tinged with bittersweet sadness. "Naruto," Kushina cried, rushing forward to envelop him in a bone-crushing hug. Wait, Mom. Naruto barely managed before a cough racked his body. Blood spattered the ground as his knees gave way, and he collapsed in her arms. His face turned alarmingly pale. Kushina gasped, eyes wide in panic. "Oh no! My baby boy is dead!" she cried dramatically, shaking him lightly. Minato, standing a few paces away, rubbed the back of his head with a chuckle. "Kushina, I think you're overreacting. He's just passed out." Still clutching Naruto, Kushina glared at her husband, tears brimming in her eyes. Their attention turned to Kurama, who lay weakly nearby, his massive body heaving with each breath. Despite his condition, a chuckle rumbled from his throat. "Don't worry, Yondaime," Kurama rasped. "I won't cause trouble again. It's safer for me here inside the boy. Besides, I've no desire to be hunted again." Minato's expression turned serious as he considered the fox's words. He knew what Kurama meant. Remaining sealed inside Naruto meant he will be safe from the masked Uchiha. For what felt like hours, Naruto and his parents talked. They spoke of the past, shared stories, and offered advice for the future. As the light surrounding them began to dim, Minato placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. "Our time is running out." Kushina's voice trembled as she cupped Naruto's cheek. "Naruto, remember, eat well, take care of yourself, and don't let anyone push you around, Databane." Naruto grinned, tears threatening to fall. "I promise, Mom." Minato smiled. "You've made us proud, Naruto. And you'll continue to. You're stronger than you realize." As their forms began to fade, Kushina leaned in and kissed Naruto's forehead. "We love you, Naruto. Always." "Love you too," Naruto whispered as the glow vanished, leaving him alone. With his parents gone, Naruto turned to Kurama, who still lay on the ground, his breath shallow. Naruto took a deep breath, his gaze softening. He closed his eyes and imagined the inner world transforming. Lush greenery replaced the barren ground, and vibrant energy filled the air. Kurama's wounds healed in an instant. Kurama blinked, looking around in mild surprise before his gaze settled on Naruto. Naruto walked up to him, a determined look in his eyes, and extended a hand. Hey, let's be buddies. The Ninetales studied him silently, the sage's words echoing in his mind. The one to bridge the gap will be someone like no other. Could this boy truly be the one? Setting the thought aside, Kurama let out a low chuckle and raised a massive paw, offering Naruto a fist bump. We'll see, brat. Naruto chuckled, bumping his fist against Kurama's. Suddenly, Kayakatsu appeared atop Kurama's head, grinning mischievously. Now that we're friends, how about a game of hide-and-seek? Kurama stared at her, dumbfounded. Hide? Where exactly do you expect me to? Naruto grinned. No problem. He imagined Kurama shrinking, his massive form condensing until he resembled a fluffy, fox-sized version of himself. Kurama growled. You've got to be kidding me. When Naruto awoke, his body felt heavy, but he forced himself out of bed. Stumbling into the living room, he found Asuma, Choji, and Ino sitting with Shikamaru. Asuma greeted him with a casual wave. Good afternoon, Naruto. Naruto yawned as he returned the greeting. Ino smirked. Sleeping in again? Honestly, you're so lazy. Naruto scratched his head. It's my day off. Can't I enjoy it? Choji chuckled. We just got back from a mission. D rank. Had to help an old lady move furniture. Shikamaru sighed. What a drag. Still, I'd take that over anything serious. Naruto slumped onto the couch. You and me both, bro. Asuma chuckled, lighting a cigarette. You two are way too alike. Ino crossed her arms, feigning annoyance. You both could be a little more enthusiastic for a change. Naruto waved her off and headed to the kitchen. While Team 7 continued their endless cycle of chores, Kakashi focused on refining their teamwork. Sakura, lagging behind, was pushed to improve her stamina and taijutsu. Kakashi eventually introduced the tree climbing exercise to enhance their chakra control. Naruto, however, sat to the side, reclining against a tree. Sakura frowned. Why aren't you training? Kakashi glanced at her lazily. The Nara kids learn chakra control early. It's essential for the shadow possession jutsu. Naruto smirked. Perks of being a Nara, I guess. In their downtime, Kakashi and Naruto bonded over Ika Ika, much to the annoyance of Sakura and Sasuke, who couldn't stand their odd bromance. Kakashi, Guy, and Kurenai were assigned an escort mission for Lord Kamen, a wealthy merchant. During his travels, Kamen had lost his men to an ambush and narrowly survived thanks to Konoha's umbu. At Kakashi's request, Naruto joined the mission, which Hiruzen approved without hesitation. When Kakashi arrived at the Nara household, Naruto sighed. I've got a bad feeling about this. Kakashi grinned. Good instincts. At the village gates, Naruto met Kakashi, Guy, Kurenai, and Lord Kamen. The merchant, visibly shaken, had the demeanor of a man haunted by death. Naruto attempted to lighten the mood with jokes, but Kamen remained distant. As they traveled, Guy's boundless energy clashed with Naruto's lazy attitude. Come now, Naruto. Youthful energy is the key to success. Naruto yawned. No thanks. I'm conserving energy. Their banter drew laughter from Kakashi and exasperated sighs from Kurenai, who focused on scouting ahead. At night, the team rested cautiously, with Guy's vigilance countering the oppressive gloom of their surroundings. However, unease buzzed in Naruto's gut as they crossed a narrow bridge the next day. Signs of battle littered the area, shattered weapons, bloodstains, and torn tents, a grim reminder of Kamen's previous ambush. 3 figures appeared on the other side. Naruto stepped forward, his expression calm. Do we really have to fight? Can't we settle this peacefully? Kazuo chuckled, raising his firearm. Afraid not, kid. He fired without hesitation, but Naruto intercepted the bullets with his blades. Naruto sighed, muttering under his breath. Kurama's voice rumbled in his mind. Lazy brat? Naruto smirked. The gunman's mine. Without waiting for permission, Naruto lunged at Kazuo. Ryuji cracked his knuckles, grinning. Guess that leaves me the green spandex guy. Guy responded with a gleam in his eye. Youth versus brute strength? I'll take that challenge. As the battle erupted, Kakashi faced Haruka, leaving Kurenai to guard Kamen. Why are you targeting Lord Kamen? Kakashi demanded. Haruka remained silent, a cryptic smile playing on her lips. Back with Naruto, he sprinted ahead, leading Kazuo away from the group. Let's make this fun. So tell me, pal, what is your opinion on games? Naruto said, spinning his blades. Kazuo smirked. Games, huh? You think this is a game, brat? Naruto's grin widened. Life's a game. You just need to know how to play. Kazuo's eyes narrowed as he raised his weapon. Then let's see if you're ready for the final level. Naruto vs. Kazuo. Naruto stood with his blades crossed before him, their dark sheen reflecting Kazuo's confident smirk. Two blades, huh? Kazuo chuckled, spinning his custom revolver on his finger. You think a fancy weapon can match this? He tapped the barrel, a low hum emanating from the gun as it charged with crackling energy. Naruto remained calm, the shadows around his feet rippling unnaturally. Well, I figured I'd try and make this entertaining for both of us. Without warning, Kazuo raised his gun and fired. A bullet laced with glowing energy shot forth, leaving a streak of light in its wake. Naruto was already gone. Kazuo's smirk faltered as Naruto reappeared behind him, the air splitting with the sudden displacement. Before he could react, Naruto thrusted two fingers into Kazuo's back using a technique called Tsukiyobi. The force sent Kazuo hurtling forward, slamming into the ground with a cloud of dust. Kazuo rolled to his feet, coughing but unfazed. Fast. I'll give you that. He aimed again, firing 3 shots in rapid succession. Naruto twisted his blades, spinning them in synchronized arcs. Bushigoma. The bullets were intercepted by the swirling wind, the attack forming a growing tornado that surged toward Kazuo. A tornado, huh? Kazuo growled, leaping back. He fired a charged shot, the impact splitting the tornado but failing to dissipate the lingering force. Caught by the residual winds, Kazuo staggered, his footing faltering. Naruto pressed the advantage, stepping into the shadows cast by a nearby rock and vanishing. Kazuo snapped his head around, his eyes scanning the battlefield. Hiding? You're gonna have to do better than that. A voice echoed from all directions. Who said I was hiding? Kazuo's shadow stretched unnaturally. He looked down just as a blade pierced up from beneath him. He twisted out of the way, narrowly avoiding the strike. Kajioni, Naruto's voice whispered again. Kazuo found himself spinning, evading shadowy tendrils that lashed at him from all sides. Each step he took felt more precarious as the shadows seemed to follow him, shrinking his safe space. Enough of this! Kazuo roared, throwing a small cylindrical device to the ground. It exploded in a burst of light, dispelling the shadows for a moment. Naruto reappeared, standing on a nearby ledge. He rested one of his scimitars on his shoulder, looking unimpressed. You're not bad at keeping your cool. Kazuo smirked, pulling out another weapon, this one a sleek, rifle-like gun. You're quick, but let's see how you handle this. The rifle emitted a low hum before firing a concentrated energy beam. Naruto leapt high, dodging the initial blast, but Kazuo anticipated the move. He adjusted his aim mid-fire, sweeping the beam toward Naruto in midair. Naruto spun, his blades glowing faintly as he activated Zangarin. A massive wave of energy erupted from his swords, colliding with the beam and splitting it in two. The resulting explosion sent both combatants flying in opposite directions. As the dust settled, Naruto pushed himself to his feet, his breathing steady despite the strain. You're full of surprises, he admitted, brushing off debris from his coat. You are full of surprises yourself, Kazuo. Let's end this, Naruto. Kazuo raised his gun, eyes narrowing. Finally, some enthusiasm. Naruto stood still, his blades crossed in front of him. Shadows danced around him as he took a deep breath, the battlefield quieting. Darumasen Jie Karanda, he declared softly, his voice carrying an ominous weight. Kazuo frowned, gripping his broken rifle tighter. What kind of game is this? He muttered, eyes darting around as the world seemed to shift unnaturally. Trails of Ryatsu snaked through the air, their glow eerily illuminating the battlefield. Naruto began to move, his steps deliberate as he followed the path of energy left behind by the powerful Zangarin. Each step brought him closer to Kazuo, yet his form seemed to flicker, blending with the shadows around him. Kazuo's instincts screamed at him. He aimed his weapon wildly, scanning the shifting shadows for any sign of Naruto. Show yourself! He growled, the tension in his voice betraying his unease. The Ryatsu trail glimmered brighter as Naruto approached, his movements precise and soundless. Kazuo finally caught a glimpse of him, his silhouette emerging briefly from the shadows as he closed the distance. There you are! Kazuo shouted, turning his head sharply to fix his gaze on Naruto. The moment Kazuo's eyes locked onto Naruto's moving form, everything stopped. Kazuo froze mid-breath, his body stiffening as an invisible force gripped him. His gun clattered to the ground as his eyes widened in realization. "No, what?" he gasped, his voice cracking. Naruto's steps halted as he lowered his blades, standing just a few feet away from the paralyzed man. The air around them seemed heavier, oppressive. "Game over," Naruto said softly, his tone lacking malice but carrying an air of finality. "Rules of the game: if Naruto's opponent sees him approaching, they die." Kazuo's body trembled, his knees buckling as he fell to the ground. His breathing grew shallow, and then stopped altogether. The light in his eyes dimmed as his body slumped forward, lifeless. Naruto exhaled and sheathed his blades. "A shame. You were a good player," he murmured, his voice almost regretful. The battlefield grew still once more, the remnants of the Ryatsu trail fading into the ether as Naruto turned and walked away. The game had ended, and the victor was clear. Chapter 12: Guy vs. Ryuji. Ryuji cracked his knuckles, each pop like a thunderclap in the tense atmosphere. He stood tall, his towering frame exuding raw power, as he grinned wickedly. His eyes locked onto Guy, who stretched in preparation, the light in his eyes burning with youthful determination. "Finally, someone who might actually give me a challenge," Ryuji exclaimed, his voice brimming with anticipation. Guy returned the grin, his pearly white teeth gleaming. "I hope you're ready, my youthful opponent. Let us test the limits of our strength." Without warning, Ryuji lunged forward, the ground beneath him exploding from the sheer force of his takeoff. His fist swung down like a hammer, aiming to crush Guy in one blow. But Guy sidestepped with ease. "Fast," Ryuji noted, his grin widening. Guy didn't respond. Instead, he countered with a high-speed kick aimed at Ryuji's ribs. Ryuji raised his forearm just in time. Trees swayed and leaves scattered as the two combatants exchanged blows, each strike carrying immense power. Ryuji roared, a burst of chakra erupting from his body, creating a shockwave that forced Guy to leap back. The ground where Guy had been standing moments ago cracked and splintered. "Not bad, but can you keep up?" Ryuji taunted, his fists glowing faintly as he focused chakra into them. Guy landed gracefully, his expression calm but focused. "Youth burns brightest under pressure. Let's see how brightly you shine." Ryuji charged again, his skin shimmering as he activated his chakra-hardening technique. Each strike he threw felt like being hit with a sledgehammer, forcing Guy to stay on the defensive. Guy blocked and dodged with extraordinary agility, but the sheer force of Ryuji's attacks began to leave cracks in the ground and fissures in nearby boulders. "Your taijutsu is impressive," Guy admitted as he backflipped to create some distance. "And yours is just as good as they said, green beast," Ryuji replied, his grin never faltering. Deciding it was time to turn the tide, Guy crossed his arms and focused his chakra. The air around him shifted as he activated the first gate, then the second, his body radiating an intense energy. "Allow me to demonstrate the power of youth," Guy shouted, his voice echoing across the battlefield. Ryuji's eyes narrowed as Guy disappeared from his sight. Before Ryuji could react, a devastating kick slammed into his side, sending him hurtling through several trees. He recovered quickly, rolling to his feet and spitting out a mouthful of blood. "Now this is what I'm talking about," Ryuji bellowed, slamming his fists together, creating a burst of energy that leveled the surrounding trees. The two warriors collided once more, their speed and power creating shockwaves that shook the earth. Guy's movements became more erratic and unpredictable as he unleashed the morning peacock, Asakujiku. Ryuji weathered the storm, his hardened skin absorbing most of the damage. He countered with a devastating uppercut, chakra enhanced to create a localized explosion. Guy twisted midair, avoiding the full brunt of the attack, and retaliated with a spinning kick to Ryuji's head, staggering the larger man. Frustrated but exhilarated, Ryuji slammed his fist into the ground, channeling his chakra to create a massive shockwave that radiated outward. Guy leapt high into the air, avoiding the blast entirely. "You'll have to do better than that," Guy called out from above. Ryuji smirked. "I was hoping you'd say that." He propelled himself upward with a burst of chakra, meeting Guy midair. Their fists clashed, creating a deafening boom that sent both men flying back. Guy landed in a crouch, skidding to a stop, while Ryuji crashed into a boulder, shattering it. Realizing that brute strength alone wouldn't be enough, Ryuji focused his chakra entirely into his fists, his arms glowing with an intense light. He charged at Guy one final time, each step shaking the ground. Guy, now glowing with the power of the fixed gate, planted his feet firmly. He waited until Ruji was mere inches away before unleashing the morning peacock once again, his fiery strikes overwhelming Ruji's chakra-fueled assault. As the barrage of punches landed, Ruji's hardened skin began to crack, and his movements slowed. With one final shout, Guy delivered a spinning kick to Ruji's chest, sending him flying backward. Ruji crashed into the ground, creating a massive crater, and lay still. Guy stood over his defeated opponent, his breathing heavy but controlled. He gazed down at Ruji, who coughed weakly, a grin still on his battered face. "You're strong, green beast," Ruji admitted, his voice hoarse. "I'll admit defeat, but that was the most fun I've had in years." With a smile, Guy gave him a thumbs up. "Your strength is undeniable, my youthful friend. But remember, true strength is not just in power, but in spirit." Ruji chuckled weakly before slipping into unconsciousness. Guy turned, his usual exuberance dimmed slightly as he rejoined the others, ready to assist in the next phase of the battle. Despite his victory, he knew the fight was far from over. Kakashi vs. Haruka the Spiritualist. The battlefield was eerily silent as Kakashi stood facing Haruka Ueno. Her presence exuded an unsettling calm, her figure illuminated by the shifting glow of elemental chakra and spiritual energy. Haruka moved with a serene grace, as though the battle itself was beneath her. Kakashi, by contrast, was tense but focused, his Sharingan spinning slowly as it tracked her every movement. Haruka's voice broke the silence. "You carry the weight of many lives on your shoulders, copy ninja Kakashi. Yet your gaze is clouded by hesitation. Why do you fight? To atone? To protect? Or simply to survive?" Kakashi said nothing, his hand tightening around his lightning-charged tanto. His stance spoke volumes, he was ready for anything. Silent as the grave, Haruka murmured, "Very well. Let us see if your resolve matches your reputation." Haruka's hands moved fluidly, forming intricate seals that seemed to blur together. A gust of razor-sharp wind surged forward. Kakashi leapt back, his Sharingan predicting the attack's trajectory, but the wind changed course mid-flight, slicing toward him like a living blade. "Raiten, Reiko Ken!" Kakashi's tanto flared with lightning as he slashed through the wind, dispersing it with a burst of energy. He dashed forward, closing the gap between them in an instant, and brought his blade down. Haruka raised her hand, and a wall of water rose to meet the attack, solidifying into ice just as Kakashi's blade connected. Sparks flew as the lightning clashed against the ice, but before he could press the attack, Haruka melted into the water, her form flowing across the ground like a river. Kakashi spun, his Sharingan tracking her reformation behind him. He was already moving when she unleashed a volley of fireballs, dodging the first two and countering the third with a water jutsu of his own. Steam hissed and billowed around them as the fire and water collided. "You're quick," Haruka said, her voice echoing unnaturally through the mist. "But quickness alone won't save you." Kakashi barely had time to react as chains erupted from the ground, glowing with spiritual energy. He flipped backward, avoiding the chains as they lashed at him like whips, but one caught his arm, searing into his skin with a burning heat. Gritting his teeth, Kakashi formed a one-handed seal. "Doton, Doria Hiki!" A massive earthen wall rose between him and Haruka, forcing the chains to retract. Haruka didn't wait for him to recover. She clapped her hands together, and a glowing sigil appeared beneath her feet. The ground rumbled as jagged pillars of stone shot upward in a wide radius, forcing Kakashi to leap and weave through the treacherous terrain. Kakashi retaliated with a flurry of kunai, each one wrapped with explosive tags. Haruka deflected them with a wave of water, but the explosions obscured her vision for a split second, long enough for Kakashi to close the gap. He appeared behind her, his tanto glowing with Raikiri's deadly power. "Got you!" But his blade passed through empty air as Haruka dissolved into fire, reappearing several meters away. She smiled faintly. A commendable effort, but predictable. Kakashi didn't falter. He reached into his pouch, pulling out ninja wire, infusing it with chakra. In a blur of motion, he flung the wire toward her, the strands weaving into a complex trap that encircled her. "Predictable, huh?" Kakashi smirked as he tugged on the wire, activating the chakra embedded within it. The trap pulsed with electricity, sparking violently as it closed in on Haruka. For the first time, Haruka's serene expression flickered with surprise. "Impressive," she admitted. But then her eyes glowed with an unnatural light. "However, I am far from finished." She clapped her hands, and the sigils on her body flared brightly. The 5 elements swirled around her, converging into a massive spiritual construct, a towering figure composed of fire, water, earth, wind, and lightning. Its glowing eyes locked onto Kakashi, and with a deafening roar, it lunged forward. Kakashi dodged its first attack, a sweeping blow that left a crater in the ground. His Sharingan analyzed the construct's movements, searching for a weakness. But the entity was relentless, its elemental form constantly shifting to counter his attacks. Damn it, Kakashi muttered, sweat dripping down his face. He formed another set of seals. Suiton, Suryuden no Jutsu. A massive water dragon surged toward the construct, colliding with it in a burst of elemental energy. The construct staggered but didn't fall. It retaliated with a blast of wind and fire, forcing Kakashi to retreat. He landed on a nearby rock, breathing heavily. This thing's tough. I need to find a way to disrupt her control over it. Haruka floated above the battlefield, her eyes glowing as she directed the elemental construct. You've done well to last this long, Kakashi. But all things must end. Kakashi's gaze hardened. Yo, Kakashi! Guy landed beside him, his body bruised but his grin unshaken. Looks like you could use a hand. Kakashi let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Took you long enough. Guy cracked his knuckles, his eyes narrowing as he looked at Haruka and the towering construct behind her. You just focus on her. Leave the big guy to me. Chapter 14. Guy, breathing heavily, stood shoulder to shoulder with Kakashi, their gazes fixed on Haruka. She floated serenely above the ground, her form flickering with an ethereal glow. The markings of her ritualistic sigils circled her feet, shimmering in colors that shifted like the tides. The air around her seemed alive, charged with the power of all 5 chakra natures, blending seamlessly with her spiritual energy. Naruto crouched in the shadows, Kate and Kayakatsu resting on his shoulder. He observed intently, ready to step in if his sensei or Guy faltered, though he respected their strength enough to hold back for now. Guy wiped the blood from his lip, his eyes burning with determination. Kakashi, this one is a lot tougher than that brute I just dealt with. She's on a whole other level. Kakashi nodded, his Sharingan focused on Haruka's every movement. She's not just strong, Guy. She's smart, she's testing us, probing for weaknesses. We can't give her an opening. Haruka smiled serenely, her voice calm and melodic. Weakness? Such a mortal concept. Strength and weakness are but illusions in the grand weave of life. She raised her hands, chakra swirling as 5 elemental orbs, fire, water, earth, wind, and lightning, manifested around her. But if you wish to test your resolve, I shall grant you the gift of enlightenment. With a wave of her hand, the elemental orbs shot toward them at blinding speed. Kakashi and Guy leaped apart as the orbs collided with the ground, erupting into explosions of raw elemental energy. Fire scorched the earth, water surged in crashing waves, and jagged rocks erupted like spikes from the ground. Kakashi countered with a swift earth wall, blocking the worst of the debris, while Guy used his incredible speed to weave through the chaos. Dynamic entry! Guy launched himself at Haruka, his kick blazing with chakra. She shifted into her wind element, her body dissolving into a gust of air. Guy's attack passed harmlessly through her, and she reappeared several meters away. Your strength is impressive, Haruka said, but brute force alone will not touch me. She extended her hand, summoning chains that shot toward Guy, glowing with spiritual energy. Kakashi intercepted, throwing a flurry of lightning-charged shuriken to sever the chains. We'll see about that, he muttered. His Sharingan spun as he analyzed Haruka's movements. Guy landed beside Kakashi, his fists clenched. This isn't working. I'll have to up the tempo. He crossed his arms over his chest and shouted, the 5th gate, gate of limit, open. Guy launched himself at Haruka with renewed speed. Haruka fused with her earth element, her body becoming as solid and unyielding as stone. Guy's punch connected, sending shockwaves through the battlefield, but she remained rooted, absorbing the force. Before she could retaliate, Kakashi appeared behind her, his tanto glowing with lightning chakra. He slashed at her back, but Haruka shifted into her fire form. She reformed behind them, her hands forming seals. Kakashi's mind raced as he dodged the spirit's relentless attacks. She's too versatile. Every time we counter one element, she switches to another. If this keeps up, we'll run out of chakra before she does. Guy landed beside him, blood dripping from a cut on his forehead. Got any bright ideas, genius? As Guy charged the construct, opening the 6th gate to gain an edge, Kakashi rushed toward Haruka, his tanto at the ready. She greeted him with a serene smile. So, you wish to challenge me directly. Bold but foolish. Haruka unleashed a barrage of blasts, but Kakashi weaved through them with his Sharingan, closing the distance. Their blades clashed, her spiritual energy meeting his lightning chakra in a brilliant display. Why fight, Kakashi? Haruka whispered. Your heart is heavy with pain. Wouldn't it be easier to let go, to accept the balance of the world? Kakashi's eyes narrowed. I've already lost too much. I won't lose anyone else. Despite his best efforts, Haruka's spiritual form proved almost untouchable. Kakashi dodged another elemental attack, panting heavily. His Sharingan glowed with intensity, and he hesitated, his hand reaching for his left eye. No, not yet, he muttered. The memory of Rin's death flashed through his mind, the moment he'd awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan. The strain, the trauma, it was a power he dreaded to use. But as Haruka prepared a final, devastating attack, Kakashi's resolve hardened. I didn't want to resort to this. Before Kakashi could activate Kamui, a shadow flickered across the battlefield. Naruto stepped forward, Kaiten Kayakatsu drawn. You've done enough, sensei. Let me handle this. Haruka's calm facade finally cracked, her eyes narrowing as she sensed Naruto's overwhelming spiritual energy. So, the shadow in the wings finally reveals himself. Naruto smirked, his blades spinning lazily. You've had your fun. Now it's my turn. Before Kakashi could activate Kamui, a shadow flickered across the battlefield. The ground darkened for a split second as Naruto stepped forward, his scimitars lazily resting in his hands. His expression was calm, yet his presence sent a ripple through the air. You've done enough, sensei, Naruto said softly, his tone carrying both respect and finality. Let me handle this. Haruka's spiritual storm subsided as her gaze snapped toward the young ninja. Her calm facade cracked ever so slightly, her eyes narrowing. So, the shadow in the wings finally reveals himself, she mused. Naruto sighed, his blades spinning in his hands with an almost casual grace. You've had your fun. Now it's my turn. Kakashi blinked, catching the subtle shift in Naruto's expression, the slightest narrowing of his visible eye, the quiet tension in his shoulders. It was an expression he recognized well. Run. As fast as you can, Naruto ordered softly, his voice like cold steel. Kakashi's blood froze for a moment. He turned to Guy, who stood still, winded from the intense battle. Guy, we need to move. Now. Guy glanced at him, confused at first, but the urgency in Kakashi's voice registered. What? Trust me, Kakashi interrupted sharply, already moving. This is about to get dangerous. Sensing the shift in tone, Guy nodded and followed without question. As they disappeared into the distance, Naruto waited, his blades still lowered. Silence settled over the battlefield, save for the soft whistle of the wind. Haruka watched the retreating figures with mild curiosity before turning back to Naruto. The face you're making is unbecoming for someone like you, she commented, her tone tinged with amusement. Tell me, Naruto Nara, or should I say Naruto Namikaze? Naruto chuckled lightly, though his eye held no humor. You're well informed. Not many people know of my true lineage. The organization I serve deals in intelligence, Haruka replied smoothly. Naruto tilted his head, his smirk turning sharp. An assassination is another one of your services, isn't it? Haruka smiled at the perceptive remark. Very good, Naruto. You see, our clients are persistent. Even if my group were to withdraw, others would come for Lord Kamen. Their coin is persuasive, and they won't stop until his life ends. Naruto sighed, his gaze softening for the briefest moment. I really wished we could have resolved this peacefully. Haruka raised an eyebrow, as if humoring him. A noble sentiment for a boy of your power. Your pacifism is admirable, but also naive. Naruto exhaled, shifting his stance. Naive or not, he pointed both scimitars toward the ground. I guess we'll find out. Naruto's voice dropped to a low chant, the air around him darkening as if the world itself held its breath. Beneath the withering pines, shadows dance in despair. A tale of lovers bound, entwined by fate's cruel snare. Come forth, Karamatsu Shinju, and weave the final play. Where joy fades to sorrow, and all light decays. Bankai. The release was instantaneous. Black tendrils erupted from Naruto like shadows come to life, extending outward in sharp, twisting patterns that resembled ink-drawn pine branches. The tendrils coiled and writhed, swallowing the surrounding light and casting the battlefield into gloom. Behind Naruto, two spirits, Kaiten and Kayakatsu, manifested like ethereal phantoms, their forms faint and terrifying. A chilling aura swept through the area, making the sky itself appear fractured, the yellow square panels of a theater stage hovering in the void above. Haruka's calm demeanor faltered, her fingers twitching as if brushing against something unseen. What is this? Naruto tilted his head downward, his voice a low murmur. A tragic play is about to unfold. The battlefield was silent, save for the eerie hum of shadow and despair. Chapter 16. The Tragic Curtain Rises. The battlefield stood silent, swallowed by shadow and despair as Naruto's Bankai took form. Black tendrils writhed like ink-drawn pine branches, spreading outward to cover the land beneath his feet. Above them, the sky fractured, replacing the heavens with eerie yellow square panels, the semblance of a theater stage. Behind Naruto, his Zanpakuto spirits, Kaiten and Kaikatsu, loomed ominously, their ethereal presence filling the air with weight and dread. Haruka's serene mask faltered as the gloom settled in. Her spiritual energy hummed dangerously, but even she could not deny the unnatural weight pressing down on her. What a chilling power a stage set for tragedy. How fitting. Naruto stood still, Kaiten Kaikatsu held loosely at his sides, the blade's edges glimmering faintly in the murk. Fitting or not, the story begins now. His voice was quiet but carried across the stage like a whispered warning. Act 1, Tamurai Kizu no Wakachiai, Hesitance and Apportionment of Wounds. Naruto took a deliberate step forward, and Haruka, sensing the shift, fused with her first element fire. Flames erupted around her body, casting an infernal glow in stark contrast to the oppressive shadows. Her speed increased, her figure blurring as she launched herself at Naruto. Her fist swung forward, flames roaring, but Naruto sidestepped smoothly. The tip of his scimitar caught her arm in a shallow cut, causing her to hiss slightly in pain. Yet Naruto grimaced as well, a matching cut appearing across his arm as if mirrored. Haruka's eyes narrowed. Shared wounds? Naruto calmly recited. As though to share in his suffering, the wounds upon his partner's body appear upon his own. Yet in a cruel twist of fate, he cannot die from those wounds. She halted for a moment, analyzing the strange phenomenon. With a flick of her hand, she hurled a torrent of flames at him. Naruto vanished with Shuinpa, appearing behind her with a slash. Her flaming form twisted midair, and she retaliated with a fire-coated elbow strike to his ribs. Both of them staggered as matching wounds appeared, scorch marks searing into their flesh. Haruka's lips curled into a frown. An ability that nullifies my advantage? Clever. But how long can you keep this up? Naruto smirked faintly, even as blood trickled from his lips. Long enough. Haruka shifted tactics, summoning a swirling vortex of water, dousing her flames and enveloping herself in liquid armor. The water coiled around her limbs, augmenting her movements. Her strikes became fluid, unpredictable, as she launched rapid jets of water at Naruto while closing in for hand-to-hand combat. Naruto matched her rhythm, his scimitars dancing to intercept her strikes. Each time he cut through her water armor, droplets splashed across him, leaving sharp stinging wounds on his skin. Haruka grinned as she realized the shared wound effect extended to her elemental strikes as well. She flicked her hand, summoning a series of binding sigils that glowed with spiritual energy. Let's see you escape this. Chains shot out of the sigils, wrapping around Naruto's legs and arms. Haruka summoned an orb of swirling water and hurled it directly at his chest. Naruto, unable to dodge, took the attack full force. The water exploded into a crushing torrent, and Haruka watched as he crumbled to his knees. Yet blood suddenly spurted from her own chest, a gash forming exactly where Naruto had been hit. Her eyes widened in disbelief as she staggered. What? Naruto rose slowly, breathing heavily. You should have realized it by now. No matter what damage you do to me, you'll feel it too. Haruka scowled, wiping blood from her lips. This play is too cruel. Naruto's voice dropped. It's only just begun. Act 2, Zanki no Shirtone, the Pillow of Shame. Naruto raised his blade, reciting softly. Lamenting that he has caused his partner such wounds. The man collapses upon the floor in shame, and is consumed by an incurable ailment. Black spots began to materialize across Haruka's skin, pulsing ominously. She stumbled, her spiritual energy faltering for the first time as blood began to leak from the spots. What is this? Haruka grunted, her voice losing some of its confidence. The black stains spread like an infection, and every movement seemed to pull her deeper into pain. A man's shame, given form. Naruto. Haruka gritted her teeth and shifted into earth. Her skin hardened into stone, cracks forming where the black spots marred her surface. With a furious roar, she slammed her fists into the ground, causing the earth to erupt in jagged pillars that shot toward Naruto. Naruto dodged nimbly with Shuinpa. Haruka surged forward, her stone fist crashing down toward him. Naruto met her head-on, his scimitars striking her stone form in rapid succession. Every blow rebounded onto himself, blood splattering from his arms and legs. Yet Haruka's hardened form was deteriorating just as quickly, fissures splitting her body as the black spots bled profusely. "Why don't you fall?" Haruka shouted, her voice cracking. Naruto's eye gleamed coldly. "You're already breaking." Act 3, Danjo no Fuchi, The Severing Abyss. Naruto's voice carried softly across the broken field. Resigning themselves to their fate, the two hurl themselves into the gushing waters, until no Ryatsu remains in their bodies. The ground beneath them gave way as a vast, dark body of water erupted into existence. Haruka and Naruto were pulled into its depths, submerged within the inescapable abyss. The water was oppressive, cold, and unending. Haruka thrashed, struggling to keep herself afloat as her chakra reserves were steadily drained. "No, I refuse." Naruto floated effortlessly, his gaze locked onto her. "This play is nearly over." The final act, Ido Karibasami Kaizo no Nadabu, thread-cutting scissors upon a blood-streaked throat. Naruto sheathed his blades, the haunting stillness of his Bankai consuming the battlefield. The abyssal waters swirled ominously, resonating with Haruka's fading strength. She struggled to rise, but her body refused, cracks spreading through her hardened form, blood seeping from the blackened wounds inflicted by Naruto's cursed stage. Naruto took a slow step forward, his presence dominating the void. In his hand materialized a thin, white glowing thread, shimmering like a strand of moonlight yet carrying an undeniable sense of finality. Haruka's breath came in sharp, ragged gasps as she looked up at him, her trembling body betraying her. What is that?" Naruto's steps were deliberate, unhurried, his eye cold and unwavering. "The final act," he said softly, the thread in his hand stretching and writhing like a living thing. With a flick of his wrist, the thread shot forward, wrapping around Haruka's throat like a rope. Her eyes widened as the glowing strand tightened, the sharp pull forcing her head to tilt slightly. She gritted her teeth, blood trickling from her lips as she clawed at the thread, her fingers unable to grasp its ethereal form. "Is this how it ends?" Naruto didn't answer. His hand tightened, and the thread began to glow brighter, digging deep into her neck. Her struggles weakened as the glowing strand pulsed, each beat sapping the remaining strength from her body. "You monster, Haruka!" The abyss around them churned violently, reflecting the climax of the tragedy unfolding on its stage. Naruto's voice was low, almost mournful, as he whispered the final poem. "Few things are as cruel as a woman's mercy. She has no ears for her lover's desperate pleas." At his precious throat, she spies glistening white threads, damp with regret. Thus, she resolves to sever with her own hands those threads of regret that pitifully entwine him. With a final, merciless pull, the thread snapped taut. For a moment, everything stood still. Then, with a sickening burst, Haruka's head exploded in a violent eruption of blood. Her lifeless body collapsed, sinking into the abyss as if consumed by the very stage that had sealed her fate. The oppressive aura of the Bankai dissolved, the fractured sky above returning to its natural hue. The battlefield was silent once more, the only sound the faint rustle of wind. Naruto stood alone, the weight of the act heavy on his shoulders. He let the thread in his hand dissipate, its glow vanishing like the last remnants of a dying flame. He exhaled deeply, his voice quiet but final. Curtain closed. The battlefield was eerily quiet, save for the faint rustling of the wind sweeping through the aftermath of Naruto's Bankai. The heavy gloom had dissipated, leaving behind a haunting emptiness. Naruto stood motionless at the center of it all, his figure cast in stark relief against the desolate scene. His breathing was shallow and uneven, his body trembling under the immense strain of the final act. Slowly, deliberately, he raised a hand to his face, adjusting his eye patch over his right eye. The single visible eye stared ahead, sharp and weary. Victory had been secured, but it was hollow, as most victories in this cruel play often were. His gaze shifted, catching on a still form in the distance. Ryuji, the man who had crossed paths with fate in the wrong moment, lay sprawled upon the ground, his body marred by the unmistakable remnants of Naruto's Bankai. The wounds from Act I were etched deeply into his skin. His once vibrant figure now bore the dark, spreading stains from Act II, black spots disfiguring the pallor of his corpse like a painter's cruel hand. And then there was his head, or rather, the absence of it. Only a bloody mess remained, a grim testament to the cruelty of Act IV. The remnants of his mortal struggle seemed to have been erased in the span of a heartbeat, the explosive violence of Naruto's Bankai claiming yet another casualty. Naruto's jaw clenched tightly as he took it all in. The truth settled heavily upon him, he hadn't even realized Ryuji had been caught in the crossfire. Naruto walked towards Ruji. Naruto knelt down briefly, his gaze fixed on the broken form before him. His hand hovered over the man's chest, unsure whether to touch it or leave it be. Finally, he muttered under his breath, his voice low and strained, "Sorry, I didn't want this for you." He closed his eye, bowing his head slightly in acknowledgement. For a brief moment, the air seemed to still, as though the world offered its own quiet respect for the fallen. But Naruto knew he couldn't linger. There was no solace to be found in this place. Rising slowly to his feet, he cast one last glance at Ruji's remains before turning away. The stage had been dismantled, the curtain drawn, and yet the echoes of the performance would linger. As Naruto began to walk away, his lone shadow stretched far behind him, a somber specter of the tragedy he carried with him. Far above, a drone hovered, its small frame cloaked in subtle, reflective plating that blended with the darkened sky. The faint hum of its rotors was imperceptible as it captured every detail of the battlefield below. Behind a sleek control panel in a hidden location, Kaito Yamamoto leaned back in his chair, his hand lazily spinning the joystick controlling the drone. His lips curved into a sly grin as the feed displayed Haruka's lifeless body. Well, Kaito muttered to himself, his voice smooth and light, "You certainly don't see that every day." He adjusted the camera angle, zooming in on Ruji's corpse, the black marks dotting his skin. For a brief moment, his smile faltered, replaced by a shadow of something resembling regret. "Ah, Ruji, poor guy. Always thought you'd go out in a blaze of glory, not like this. Guess the stage wasn't yours to shine on." The camera panned back to Naruto. Kaito gave a low, impressed whistle. "Taking down Kazuo and Haruka? Damn kid, you've got some real talent. I'll give you that." For a moment, Kaito's fingers hesitated over the controls, as if debating whether to mourn his fallen comrades further. Instead, he chuckled quietly, shaking his head. "Not that it matters. You're a dead man walking, kid. You have no idea what's coming for you." His tone shifted, colder now, as he leaned closer to the monitor, his grin returning. "Enjoy the moment, Naruto Nara or Namikaze. Because once Shuri gets wind of this, there won't be a stage big enough for the tragedy she'll bring." Kaito sat back, folding his hands behind his head as the drone feed continued its silent observation. Chapter 18, A Fragile Peace. As Naruto began to take a step forward, a rush of heat flooded through him. The red chakra of the Nine Tails surged outward, enveloping his battered frame. The wounds on his body began to close as Kurama's power knitted his torn muscles and restored his strength. Naruto chuckled weakly, his voice laced with gratitude. "Thanks, Kurama. I owe you one." "Humph." The beast's tone softened, though it retained its gruff edge. "Don't mention it. Besides, if you die, I die. So don't get too sentimental, brat." The red chakra receded as quickly as it had appeared, leaving Naruto standing tall once more. He flexed his hands, feeling the renewed strength coursing through him. "Let's go," he muttered, his single eye glinting with determination as he made his way back to his team. Naruto joined Kakashi, Guy, Kurenai, and Kamen by the roadside, where they had regrouped after the chaotic battle. Guy had bandaged his forearm, still slightly bruised from his fight with Ruji and the fierce exchanges with Haruka alongside Kakashi. Despite the physical strain, his usual energy seemed undiminished as he gave Naruto a thumbs up. Kakashi broke the tense silence, his voice calm but firm. "It's time you told us what's really going on. Those assassins weren't just random bandits, they were far too coordinated and well-equipped. Who would go to such lengths to kill you?" Kamen hesitated, shifting uncomfortably under Kakashi's intense gaze. "You don't understand. Yugakure isn't like other places. There's peace there, but it's fragile. People resent it." Kurenai's eyes narrowed, her voice sharp. "Resent peace? Why would anyone be against stability and prosperity?" Kamen swallowed hard, his fingers nervously clutching his torn robe. "Because Yugakure has changed. Under Fujimoto-sama, the village has become soft, or so the factions say. It's no longer a ninja village. It's a tourist haven. People come for the hot springs and festivals, not for war." Naruto frowned. "And they hate that?" Kamen nodded quickly. "They hate it with a passion. The old ways are gone. These factions, rogue clans, Jansenists, they see Fujimoto-sama as a traitor to Yugakure's identity. He's turned a village of warriors into a place of peace." Kakashi leaned forward, his single visible eye narrowing. "Fujimoto Dano is one of the most powerful men in the world. Why would anyone challenge him?" Kamen let out a bitter chuckle, though it lacked humor. "That's exactly why they resent him. He could use his strength to conquer, to dominate like so many others. But instead, he wasted playing the role of Yugakure's guard dog." Naruto's expression darkened as he listened. Kamen's voice grew steadier as his frustration spilled out. Fujimoto-sama stands watch over Yugakure like an unshakable wall. He protects the peace, shields the village's people, and wards off those who would bring war to our gates. But to the factions, that makes him weak, a man unwilling to seize power and restore Yugakure to what they believe it once was. Kurenai's voice was cold and perceptive. And these factions see merchants like you as part of the problem. You're symbols of the new Yugakure, a village focused on trade and tourism, not war. Kamen flinched but nodded. Yes. To them, I'm a parasite feeding off Fujimoto-sama's peace. My wealth comes from the tourists and travelers his leadership attracts. They think if they destroy us, the merchants, the prosperity, then everything Fujimoto-sama has built will collapse. Naruto's voice cut through the air, sharp and unwavering. Let me get this straight. They resent peace because it doesn't let them fight. They hate a man who uses his strength to protect others instead of conquering. And they're willing to kill innocent people just to make a point? Kamen looked up into Naruto's eye, struck by the intensity of the young shinobi's gaze. That's exactly it. Peace has turned Yugakure into a village they don't recognize, and Fujimoto-sama, Naruto interrupted, his voice firm, is doing what a real leader does. He's protecting his people. That doesn't make him weak. The group fell silent. Kakashi watched Naruto carefully, noting the tension in his shoulders and the fire in his gaze. Fujimoto-dano's peace has made Yugakure a target for those who thrive in war. These attacks won't stop as long as the factions think they can destabilize the village. Kamen bowed his head, shame evident in his posture. I didn't mean to cause this. I thought I could make the trip quietly, without drawing attention. I didn't realize how bold they'd become. Guy crossed his arms, his normally upbeat tone taking on a somber edge. Even in times of peace, the seeds of discord can remain. Kurama growled softly in Naruto's mind. Fools clinging to destruction. I swear, you humans. Naruto didn't respond, but the weight of Kurama's words lingered as the group prepared to continue their journey. Unknown location. The remaining core members of Kyuikage gathered in a dimly lit chamber. A holographic projection displayed footage from Kaido's drone, capturing Naruto's battles with Kazuo and Haruka. Yuki Fukunaga smirked, crossing his arms as he leaned against the wall. The kid's impressive. Taking down Haruka is no small feat, she was one of our best. Tetsuya Okabe let out a wild laugh, his feral grin exposing sharp teeth. Impressive? The runt's just prey waiting for the hunt. I'll crush him with my bare hands next time. Let him fight like that against me and see how long he lasts. Isamu Nishimura remained calm, his tone cold and calculating. Underestimating him would be a mistake, Tetsuya. He's dangerous, not because of his strength, but because of his unpredictability. He took down Kazuo and Haruka because they underestimated him. Shura Mizuki glared at the monitor, her expression icy. Her fingers tapped rhythmically against the armrest of her chair as she suppressed the growing fury in her chest. Finally, she spoke, her voice calm but deadly. I'll finish the job myself. Naruto Namikaze will die by my hand. Kaido leaned back in his chair, smirking as he toyed with a kunai. Boss, sure you can beat the kid with some minor difficulty. But Fujimoto? He's on another level. If you start trouble in Yugakure, he'll retaliate. And trust me, you don't want him as an enemy. Shura's crimson eyes narrowed dangerously. I'm not afraid of that old geezer. If he dares interfere, I'll destroy them both, Naruto and Fujimoto. Nothing will stand in my way. Her gaze flicked back to the monitor, lingering on the image of Naruto. Naruto Namikaze, she murmured to herself, her tone laced with both intrigue and malice. The towering gates of Yugakure loomed ahead as Naruto, Kakashi, Guy, Kurenai, and Kamen approached. The guards stationed at the entrance stood tall, their gray uniforms bearing the insignia of a steaming spring, a symbol of the village's identity. Lord Kamen! One of the guards exclaimed, stepping forward with a deep bow. Relief softened his stern expression as he glanced at Kamen's disheveled state. Kamen smiled weakly, though the weight of their journey was clear in his eyes. We finally made it, he said, his tone tinged with exhaustion. The guard's gaze swept over the group before settling on the empty space behind Kamen. Where are your men, my lord? The somber silence that followed was answer enough. The guard stiffened before lowering his head in silent acknowledgement. He turned to the Konoha Nin with a grateful expression. Thank you for protecting Lord Kamen. Your efforts will not be forgotten. Kakashi gave a lazy wave of his hand. It's all part of the job. Guy, despite his injuries, struck a proud pose. No need to thank us. The youthful flames of Konoha burn brightest when protecting others. Naruto sighed, shaking his head. Let's just say it wasn't a walk in the park. Kurenai remained composed, her crimson eyes scanning their surroundings. Is the village secure? The guard nodded. It is. No troublemakers would dare act with Fujimoto-sama here. As the gates opened, the group stepped inside, and Naruto's single eye widened slightly at the sight before him. Yugakure was a village unlike any other. The air was thick with the pleasant scent of steam and mineral-rich water, carried on a gentle breeze. Narrow cobblestone streets wound through the village, bordered by elegant wooden buildings with tiled roofs. Lanterns adorned with intricate designs hung from beams, casting warm, golden light over the pathways. Streams of crystal-clear water flowed alongside the streets, bubbling softly as they fed into small fountains and canals. Visitors bustled about, their laughter and conversation blending with the soothing sound of the springs. Stalls lined the roads, selling everything from handcrafted pottery to local delicacies. The group passed a bustling market where merchants proudly displayed their wares. A vendor called out, offering steaming bowls of onsen tamago and fresh fish skewers. Children played by the streams, their giggles filling the air as they splashed each other. Naruto couldn't help but smile at the peaceful scene. So this is Yugakure, he murmured. It's nice. Kakashi's visible eye crinkled in amusement. Not bad for a tourist haven, huh? Guy inhaled deeply, his chest swelling. Ah, the rejuvenating energy of this village. Truly a place of youthfulness and vitality. Kurenai glanced at Naruto, noting the way his gaze lingered on the happy villagers. For a moment, she saw the tension in his shoulders ease. Kamen's estate was a grand structure perched on a hillside, overlooking the village. Its garden was meticulously maintained, with koi ponds and stone lanterns dotting the landscape. Servants greeted them at the entrance, bowing low as Kamen and his protectors entered. With their mission complete, Kamen handed over a heavy pouch of ryo to Kakashi. For your troubles. You have my gratitude. Kakashi accepted it with a polite nod. It was a pleasure working with you, Lord Kamen. Naruto, however, tilted his head. You sure you'll be safe here? Kamen offered a tired smile. I will. The troublemakers may be bold, but they're not fools. They wouldn't dare challenge Fujimoto-sama's authority. Naruto grinned. Well then, I guess we can relax and see what Yugakure has to offer. Eager to unwind, Naruto ventured out alone. He wandered through the vibrant streets, sampling the local cuisine and admiring the village's unique charm. A small ramen shop caught his eye, and he couldn't resist stopping for a bowl. The rich, savory broth warmed him from the inside out. Eventually, Naruto found himself at one of the village's famous hot springs. The wooden entrance was adorned with painted screens depicting serene landscapes. His eye gleamed mischievously as he noticed a sign for mixed bathing. This is going to be fun, he muttered, slipping inside. The hot spring was a tranquil paradise. Steam rose from the bubbling water, mingling with the soft glow of lanterns. Rocks and lush greenery surrounded the pools, creating an intimate, natural setting. Naruto leaned back against the edge of the spring, letting out a relaxed sigh. His body sank into the warm water, the tension melting away. He closed his eye, a lazy grin spreading across his face. That grin widened when he heard the soft murmur of voices, female voices. Worth it, he thought smugly. On his way back to Kamen's estate, Naruto strolled through the dimly lit streets. The soft glow of lanterns bathed the cobblestone paths in warm light. As he turned a corner, he collided with someone. Oh, sorry about that, Naruto exclaimed, looking up. The woman he bumped into was breathtaking. Her long, raven black hair cascaded down her back like silk, framing her striking features. Her eyes, sharp and vivid, glowed like molten gold, a captivating contrast against her porcelain skin. High cheekbones, full lips, and an elegant jawline gave her an otherworldly allure. She wore a sleek black kimono with crimson accents, adorned with intricate patterns resembling blooming roses entangled with thorny vines, exuding both elegance and danger. The woman smiled politely. No need to apologize. I wasn't paying attention either. Naruto rubbed the back of his neck, a sheepish grin on his face. Well, I guess we're both at fault. Name's Naruto. What's yours? She tilted her head, her smile faintly amused. Shura. Nice to meet you, Shura. Naruto's grin turned playful. You're gorgeous, you know that? Shura chuckled softly. Flattering, but aren't you a bit young for such comments? Naruto shrugged. Hey, I call it like I see it. Can't blame a guy for trying. Shura's expression remained kind, but her eyes betrayed a flicker of something darker. Kurama's voice echoed in Naruto's mind. Be careful, brat. This woman reeks of hostility. Naruto stiffened slightly before forcing a smile. Well, it was nice meeting you, Shura. See you around. As he turned to leave, Shura's voice dropped. I'm afraid you won't. Naruto's instinct screamed as he felt the air shift. He spun around, drawing one of his blades just in time to block a powerful punch aimed at his back. The clash sent a shockwave rippling through the street. Shura's attacks came like an unending storm. Every punch, every kick carried the weight of a collapsing building, her gravity release amplifying her blows to devastating levels. Naruto's blade met her strikes head-on, the impact creating shockwaves that rattled the air and cracked the earth beneath them. The force sent jolts of pain up his arm, but his stance never faltered. You're persistent, Naruto grunted, narrowly ducking under a high kick that whistled through the air. He countered with a quick thrust of his blade, but Shura twisted in midair. Her retaliation was swift. A volley of dark, pulsing orbs erupted from her outstretched palm, screaming through the battlefield, not at Naruto, but toward the panicked villagers. Naruto's heart dropped. She's targeting them. Without hesitation, he vanished in a blur, reappearing between the civilians and the deadly projectiles. His blades flashed in rapid succession, deflecting the orbs with precise strikes. Each impact sent rippling force through his arms, but he gritted his teeth and stood his ground. Move! Get out of here! Naruto's voice thundered as he turned his head slightly, keeping his blade raised. Go! Now! The villagers hesitated, fear rooting them in place, but another barrage of orbs from Shura left them scrambling. One of the slower villagers tripped, and Naruto dashed to intercept another projectile headed their way, slashing it mid-flight. The resulting explosion sent dirt and debris flying, but he stood firm, shielding the fallen civilian. Get up! He barked, pulling them to their feet. You don't have time to freeze up. The villager stammered a thank you and bolted toward safety. Naruto didn't have a chance to watch them leave. Shura appeared above him in an instant, her leg descending like a hammer. Naruto raised his blades just in time, blocking her kick. The force of the strike sent him crashing into the ground, leaving a crater beneath him. He rolled out of the way as she followed up with another gravity-infused stomp, the earth splitting apart where he had been a moment before. You're wasting your energy on them, Shura said mockingly, her crimson eyes glowing. They're weak. Why not just accept their fate? Naruto shot her a glare as he climbed back to his feet. That's not how this works. His voice was steady, unwavering, even as his chest heaved for air. If you want to fight me, fine. But leave them out of it. Shura's lips curved into a cruel smile. Oh? Then let's make this more interesting. She extended both arms, summoning a swirling mass of gravitational energy. The air around her warped and shimmered, and suddenly, chunks of the already damaged buildings and shattered ground began to rise into the air. She hurled the debris toward the fleeing villagers like meteors, the sheer velocity threatening to obliterate everything in their path. Naruto cursed under his breath and sprang into action. He intercepted the first chunk with a spinning slash, his blade cutting cleanly through the mass. The second piece came down faster, forcing him to leap high into the air to meet it. His blades crossed as he struck, shattering the debris into harmless fragments. But there were too many. The relentless assault of rubble and dark orbs was overwhelming, and Naruto could feel the strain creeping into his movements. A jagged boulder slipped past his defenses, hurtling toward a mother clutching her child. Naruto's eyes widened. Not on my watch. He vanished with Shuinpa, appearing in front of them just in time. His blade swung upward, cleaving the boulder in two, the halves crashing harmlessly to the sides. Keep moving! He barked, not even sparing a glance as he turned back to face Shura. The villagers were finally clear, but Shura was already closing in, her fist glowing with condensed gravitational energy. She struck with terrifying force, and Naruto barely managed to parry. The impact sent him skidding backward, his feet digging trenches into the ground. Naruto let out a deep sigh. You must be buddies with those guys who attacked Kamen. Shura's eyes narrowed. Naruto sighed. Look, I offered them a peaceful way out. They didn't take it. That's on them. Shura's voice was cold. I don't blame you for their deaths. It's the way of the world, kill or be killed. But they were dear to me. Naruto's gaze softened for a moment. I get that. But this. Shura cut him off, her voice sharp. Save your pity. A massive black hole materialized in the sky, its gravitational pull threatening to consume everything. Naruto braced himself, ready to act. A massive black hole materialized in the sky, its gravitational pull threatening to consume everything. Naruto braced himself, ready to act. But before he could, a flaming slash tore through the air, destroying the black hole in an instant. Naruto turned, and his breath caught in his throat. "Old man Yama," he whispered, a tear slipping down his cheek. Standing before him was none other than Genryosai Shigekuni Yamamoto, or as he was now known, Fujimoto, the leader of Yugakure. "It has been a while, my son," Genryosai said, though his gravelly voice carried a sharp edge. "You're still as reckless and lazy as ever, Shunsui." Naruto smiled through his tears. "It's good to see you too, old man." Shura's eyes narrowed as she launched another dark orb. Genryosai effortlessly sliced through it with another flaming strike. Shura sneered. "Hate to cut your reunion short, but you both have to die." She increased the gravity in the area, forcing Naruto and Genryosai to their knees. "Enough," Genryosai said, releasing a burst of Ryatsu that shattered her hold. Naruto followed suit, his own energy flaring to life. Genryosai's voice was firm. "Shunsui, create a barrier. I'll handle her myself." Naruto smirked. "Been a while since I've seen you in action. Don't disappoint me, old man." Genryosai's eyes burned with determination. "Those who disrupt the peace of Yugakure will be turned to ash." Shura smirked confidently. "Bring it on, old geezer." Naruto chuckled, stepping back as he began forming a barrier. She has no idea what she's up against. Chapter 20. Yamamoto's Wrath, Duel of Fire and Darkness. Shura's eyes narrowed, the confidence in her smirk unfazed. "I've heard tales of you, Genryosai Fujimoto, leader of Yugakure, a man who commands fire itself. I hope you won't disappoint me." "Barriers set," Naruto called out. "Don't hold back, old man." Genryosai didn't acknowledge Naruto's words. His focus remained on Shura, who stood ready to attack. His voice rumbled, calm but carrying a dangerous edge. "Are you prepared for your punishment, girl?" Genryosai's voice was calm, yet it carried the weight of centuries, each syllable infused with authority. Shura smirked, her crimson eyes gleaming with malice. "Old man, you think you can handle me? I'll crush you under the weight of your own arrogance." Shura struck first, thrusting her hand forward and unleashing dark release, abyssal spears, a flurry of shadowed projectiles that streaked toward Genryosai with devastating speed. With a single motion, Genryosai swung Ryujin Jaka, a wave of fire erupting from the blade. The flames met the spears midair, incinerating them in an instant. The heat lingered, causing the stone beneath the clash to bubble and melt. When an opening presented itself, he delivered a single Akatsu, a devastating punch that connected with Shura's side. The impact sent her flying, crashing through several walls before coming to a stop. Dust and debris filled the air as Shura emerged from the wreckage, coughing but far from defeated. "Not bad, old man. Let's see how you handle this." Shura surged forward, her gravity release, amplifying her speed and strength. She closed the distance in a blink, her fists coated in dark energy, as she unleashed a barrage of strikes. Genryosai moved like a storm, his blade intercepting every punch with precise, deliberate movements. Each clash sent shockwaves through the street, shattering nearby structures. "Impressive," Genryosai remarked, his tone sharp, "but fire reduces all things to ash." He swung Ryujin Jaka in a wide arc, flames erupting outward in a devastating wave. Shura leapt back, raising her hands to activate presence of the Demon King, dramatically amplifying gravity in the space between them. The flames warped and bent under the immense pressure, their trajectories shifting harmlessly to the sides. The gravity around Genryosai intensified exponentially, crushing the street beneath him into rubble and forcing the surrounding structures to groan under the strain. Naruto, watching from his barrier, felt the oppressive weight even from a distance. "Geez, that's some insane gravity, old man Yama, don't let her show you up." Genryosai remained standing, his feet firmly planted. He tightened his grip on Ryujin Jaka and channeled his Ryatsu, countering the immense pressure with his spiritual energy. "Your tricks mean nothing to me," he said, stepping forward as if the crushing gravity was mere child's play. Shura's smirk faltered, and she reinforced her technique, doubling the weight. The ground beneath Genryosai cratered, but the man himself remained unaffected. With a sharp glare, he slashed his sword upward, dispelling the gravity entirely with a burst of flames. Shura raised both hands, summoning a gravity singularity, a swirling black orb of immense power. The air around it warped violently, the ground cracking and rising into the vortex. With a flick of her wrist, she hurled it at Genryosai, the singularity growing larger as it moved. Genryusai didn't flinch. Jakaka Enjo. Flames erupted around him, forming a massive sphere of fire. The singularity collided with the inferno, the two forces battling for dominance. Space distorted violently as the gravity warped the flames, but Genryusai raised Ryujin Jaka and sliced downward, his flames surging. The singularity shattered, its fragments scattering harmlessly into the sky. Foolish. Genryusai stepped forward, his blade glowing with renewed heat. You think your tricks can surpass the flames of hell itself? Snarling, Shura lunged forward again, this time using heavy infighting. Her punches came faster and harder, gravity enhancing her strikes to make each blow feel like a mountain falling. Genryusai met her head-on, Ryujin Jaka blocking and parrying with deadly efficiency. Each clash of fist and blade sent shockwaves rippling outward. The heat of Genryusai's flames began to singe Shura's skin despite her enhanced durability. She gritted her teeth, refusing to relent. Spotting an opening, she drove her foot into the ground, summoning Evil God's pressure craft. A massive chunk of earth rose beneath her, rapidly compressed into a gigantic sword through gravitational pressure. With a flick of her hand, the sword flew toward Genryusai at incredible speed. Genryusai narrowed his eyes, stepping aside as the sword streaked past him. Raising his blade, he unleashed Taimatsu, a wave of fire so immense it swallowed the sword entirely, reducing it to ash. Shura whispered, her voice echoing unnaturally. The shadows coiled outward, a dark aura latching onto Genryusai's form, creeping toward his mind. For the first time, Shura's smirk widened. Even the strongest can break. Yet Genryusai's flame didn't waver. His eyes blazed as his voice thundered. You think you're what can conquer mine? The flames around him surged, incinerating the dark aura in an instant. The pressure of his Reiatsu alone shattered Shura's mental assault, forcing her to stumble backward. You've overstepped, girl. Ryujin Jaka ignited anew, its flames spiraling upward as 7 massive pillars erupted around Shura, encasing her completely. Anetsu Jigaku. The flames closed inward like a collapsing sun, the heat overwhelming even the gravity Shura tried to impose. She roared defiantly, releasing Dark Release, Black Hole Abyss at full power. A monstrous vortex erupted, pulling at the flames, the ground, and even the air itself. The black hole and the flames warred violently, space distorting as both forces clashed in the center of the battlefield. Genryusai didn't falter. Stepping into the maelstrom, he raised Ryujin Jaka high, his movements deliberate and final. Taimatsu, Final Judgment. A single downward slash. The flames burst outward in a blinding torrent, consuming the black hole entirely and crashing into Shura like the judgment of a god. The inferno rose into the heavens, its brilliance visible for miles. When the flames finally receded, the battlefield fell silent. Shura lay sprawled on the scorched earth, smoke rising from her battered body, her limbs trembling as she gasped for breath. Genryusai stood over her, Ryujin Jaka resting against his shoulder, its flames finally dimming. His voice carried the weight of finality. Your strength is commendable, but my flames burn away all hubris. Shura coughed weakly, a half-smile tugging at her lips. So this is the strength of the legendary flame. I never stood a chance, did I? She said before falling unconscious. Genryusai turned, already walking away as his flames extinguished completely. You fought bravely. Take solace in that. As the dust settled, Naruto's barrier dropped, and he landed nearby, whistling softly at the destruction. Impressive as ever. At Kamen's estate. Kakashi stood near the estate's balcony, his gaze fixed on the faint glow of fire in the distance. Beside him, Kurenai and Guy exchanged uneasy glances. The air felt heavy, as if the very world held its breath. That's no ordinary battle, Kurenai said softly, her crimson eyes scanning the horizon. I can feel the intensity from here. Guy, ever the optimist, folded his arms and grinned. What a fiery display of youth. Whoever's involved must be giving it their all. Kamen approached, his expression calm but firm. You have no reason to worry. Fujimoto-sama is handling the situation. Kakashi nodded, reassured by the man's confidence. If even half of what's said about Genryusai Dano is true, Kakashi muttered, then this will be resolved quickly. Guy's grin widened. Fujimoto-sama sounds like a dependable man. Maybe one day, I'll meet him and challenge his fiery spirit. Kurenai rolled her eyes. Let's hope it doesn't come to that, Guy. For everyone's sake. With Naruto. Naruto lowered the barrier, his fingers brushing away the sweat on his brow as he surveyed the battlefield. The lingering heat from Genryusai's flames had left scorch marks that marred the ground. He let out a low whistle of admiration. The old man hasn't lost his touch, he said, a grin playing on his lips. In the shadows, Kaido observed the scene silently. Having followed Shura without her knowledge, he had witnessed the entire battle. His sharp gaze lingered on Genryusai's imposing figure before darting to Shura's battered form. I told you so, Kaido thought, his lips curving into a smirk. The old man isn't someone you can mess with. A sudden shift in the air signaled Kaido's move. He caused a distraction, an explosion of smoke that filled the battlefield, concealing everything in a suffocating cloud. When the smoke cleared, Shura was gone. Naruto frowned, rubbing his temple. Fantastic. Just fantastic. I can already tell she's going to come after me again. I'm really not looking forward to that. Genryusai sheathed Ryujin Jaka, his expression impassive. Shunsui, he said, his tone soft yet firm, we have much to discuss. A great deal of time has passed since our last meeting. Naruto blinked, then broke into a wide grin. His eyes sparkled with genuine joy. Yeah, we do, old man. And you better be ready, because I've got a whole lot to tell you. Stories of the past and present. Later, the two sat together in a quiet corner of the estate. The tension of the battle had faded, replaced by a sense of calm as they exchanged stories of their lives. Naruto leaned back, resting his hands behind his head as he recounted what he knew of the events following Genryusai's death. We won the war against the Quincy, old man. Ichigo was the key to defeating Yhwach. Genryusai's expression darkened slightly, his pride visibly wounded. Ichigo again. To rely on that boy once more, it is a bitter pill to swallow. Naruto tilted his head, his gaze thoughtful. He's strong, though. You have to admit that. The Godai 13 might have needed him, but that didn't make us any less capable. Sometimes it takes an outsider to shift the tides. Genryusai hummed in acknowledgement, though his dissatisfaction remained. Perhaps. But the Godai 13 were meant to be the guardians of balance, not dependents on a substitute Shinigami. It is troubling. Naruto shrugged. Hey, sometimes even the strongest of us need a hand. No shame in that. Shifting the focus, Naruto asked, so, what's life been like for you here? Fujimoto Genryusai, leader of Yugakure? That's a big title. Genryusai's tone softened, tinged with a faint pride. This world is different from the one we knew. The chaos here is relentless, but I have brought stability to Yugakure. It is a sanctuary now, a haven for those seeking peace. I have forged alliances and quelled conflicts, though it has not been without challenges. Naruto smiled. You've done a lot, old man. Yugakure's one of the most stable villages out there, and that's saying something. Genryusai's gaze was steady, his voice calm but curious. And what of you, Shunsui? This life you've built in this world, are you at peace? Naruto leaned back, a small, thoughtful smile on his lips. Peace, huh? That's a tough one. He looked away for a moment, his expression turning pensive. The leaf, most people there don't trust me. Being a Jinchuriki isn't exactly something that